This is a News 4 First Alert Severe Weather Update.
Hey everyone, Chief Meteorologist David Paul here on Monday morning as we track showers and thunderstorms coming into the Wiregrass. We will be here all morning long as we track this activity coming on through. Some heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, and the chance for some isolated tornadoes in the Wiregrass as we go through time. Getting kind of an echo sound in my audio. I'm not sure what's happening in the back there. TJ directing today. So we'll dig in here. We're going to see this band of showers and storms move in. Now the initial line that was so strong is weakening as expected, and we're watching for the potential of these cells popping up ahead of the main line, these supercell thunderstorms, and these are the ones that will be capable of producing some very gusty winds, pockets of rotation that could lead to isolated tornadoes and some hail also. Two batches, one popping up there in Georgia, the other one popping up right here into the western and northwestern part of the Wiregrass. And then in between, we've got some of these smaller cells in place right now. No warnings in effect. I should change that. We just have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for the western and northwestern part of the Wiregrass. We'll dig in. First of all, let me introduce meteorologist Zach Webster. He is on cam in the Weather Center, and he, of course, is always here at this time of day, and I'm kind of joining him, and meteorologist Ryan Duggar is here as well. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is kind of my time of the morning. This is right in the middle of when I'm used to getting my day underway, but instead of covering some normal weather, we're covering a little bit more in the way of some severe weather. We have the one severe thunderstorm warning that's already in effect for portions of Covington and Crenshaw County and Shirley. This is the first of what will be many warnings that will be issued for our region. No tornado warnings just yet, but we are in an environment where, especially if we can get some of those individual cells that develop out ahead of that main line of storms, which is something that we're already starting to see out across portions of the Florida Panhandle. If any of those storms can really get organized in the environment that we're in, we could definitely see some of those cells start to spin up, produce tornado warnings, and that's something that we'll continue to keep an eye on and continue to track here as we head through the next few hours.
A lot to watch for sure as we watch the activity develop ahead of a cold front. It is warm, it is humid this morning. These are current temperatures 70 in Troy and Andalusia, Enterprise to Dothan, southward to Marianna. A cold front comes in today, and it is a powerful cold front. It is 45 now in Jackson, 37 in Memphis, 15 up there in Kansas City. So we are in the warm air for now. We get the showers and storms to come on through, and then some cooler air that turns cold by late today and for the overnight. Dew point readings are coming up. 68 that dew point now in Geneva, 69 in Chipley, 71 degrees in Defuniak Springs. That dew point 66 in Ozark. The more humid the air is, the more unstable the atmosphere is. TJ in the back, if you can cut Mike for Zach there. There you go. Sound a little bit better. All right, so here's a look at the Doppler radar view. Areas north and west of Troy, some showers and storms, some of that now coming into Covington County, and then watching these spotty showers that are popping up over parts of the Florida Panhandle. Everything is shifting off to the northeast, more or less. There is a tornado warning also east of us towards Valdosta, areas north there. So a lot happening across the entire southeast. We are focused on these showers and storms, which are becoming a little bit more robust at this hour, and then watching this activity in the Panhandle because we may see this continue to organize, and any of these cells out ahead of that main line will be capable of producing some rotation as we go through the morning hours. This cell pretty strong coming on through Covington County. Some heavy rainfall now in Andalusia and points northward and northwestward. There's the core of that cell, some deep red showing up, and that threat for some hail will be with us all morning long. Any of these storms that form ahead of that main line that grow very, very tall in the atmosphere may produce some hail, and that is certainly a concern over the next several hours. A little bit of rotation showing up here on the west side of Covington County, and that does include that area to the north, also up into Crenshaw County, where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. A couple different radar views here. That is using Eglin, that is using the Fort Rucker radar. So if we zoom in, we've got inbound and outbound winds here, kind of a broad circulation for the time being, the northern part, northwestern part of Covington County, but the atmosphere is favorable for rotation to become strong in pockets as we go through the morning hours. So nothing real concerning as of this point, but this is something to watch here. Areas northwest of, say, Red Level up towards Shreve, and then eventually towards Crenshaw and Pike counties. More showers and storms are breaking out areas to the east, but there's nothing concerning as far as any rotation if we look at the big view. So as of this point, we're kind of at the beginning stages of what will be a fairly significant threat for showers and storms and severe weather in the Wiregrass. One cluster here, another little cluster showing up there towards Bainbridge, just east of our area. In between, we've got these spotty, mainly small showers in effect, or at this time, southern part there of Geneva County into the northern part of Holmes County. A couple showers there in Clay County, southward towards Houston County. Again, these are mainly showers at this point, not seeing much in the way of lightning strikes, at least not yet. That will likely change as we go through the next couple hours. Warm and humid air coming in ahead of that cold front, and the instability is increasing. And that's what we're watching. The instability and then the low-level jet, which is coming on through, that will help to fuel the showers and storms as we move on through the morning hours. Let me show you the future animation here of the atmosphere, beginning at 5 o'clock in the morning. So a model depiction here of that main batch coming into the western part of the area now, shifting to the east and northeast, and that will likely be the main area of concern as we go through the morning hours. So at 6 in the morning, coming on through pretty much the heart of the Wiregrass within this line, or these cells ahead of that line, some rotation, a possibility, along with gusty winds. 7 o'clock, still looking at a lot of activity out there, southeast Alabama into the Panhandle, and then probably some rejuvenation as we go deeper into the morning hours, areas south and areas east. So by finally 8, 9 o'clock Central Time, most of the area out of that severe threat. 70s in Tallahassee, how about 40s and 50s on the backside? So a big change in the air mass as we go through the second part of today. Midday into the afternoon, 40s and likely some snow areas north of us. That's a big change in the atmosphere that's occurring as we go through today. So we have this big tornado watch in effect. That goes until 9 o'clock this morning, or until that threat for any tornadoes passes with the passing of that cold front. A lot of showers and storms overnight, a lot of winter reports areas north in Alabama. Underneath here in yellow and orange, that is that low-level jet. So the low-level jet stream helps to produce shear, wind shear in the atmosphere that can produce rotation. That pocket of winds aloft will continue moving off to the east and kind of move into our area. So as the low-level jet transitions into the heart of the Wiregrass, that will help to aid rotation potential. So something that we're watching as we go through the next couple hours. A little hint of that right there also east of us, and that is enhancing those cells. So that low-level jet, certainly very important on a morning like this. The Gulf is open, warm and humid air coming in ahead of that cold front that will really drop temperatures during the second part of today. Let me go back over to Zach. He's been kind of monitoring the situation, the cells north of us during the overnight period. Zach, what are you seeing?
Yeah, David, a couple of things that are sticking out to me, especially with those storms that are starting to move over closer to the northwestern corner of Covington County and then over into Crenshaw County. A couple things that I'm watching. We saw an increase in lightning with that storm, and then we saw that lightning decrease in that storm. It'll be interesting if we see another increase in that lightning, if that could lead to a little bit more of a spin up in that rotation and could eventually try to produce at least some form of a tornado out across the northern portions of Covington County and over into the southwestern portions of Crenshaw County. Another thing that I'm watching is the potential for us to see some of these storm mergers. These can kind of lead to some nudging that can increase some of that rotation and locally increase the threat for us to potentially see a spin-up tornado. Again, this is over the northwest corner of Covington County and into southwestern Crenshaw County. Just those couple of things I'm continuing to keep an eye on. Typically, whenever you see one of these storms really pulse up with that lightning and then start to see that lightning decrease, once you see that lightning start to increase once again, that really makes for a storm that we'll have to watch pretty closely. And then any sort of cell interactions that we have out ahead of that cell, if you get a cell that develops and then merges in with that first cell, it can create a little bit more rotation and could, at least for that brief moment, increase the tornado threat. So those are the couple of things I'm continuing to keep an eye on, especially with that storm moving out of northwestern Covington County and will eventually move its way into southwestern Crenshaw County.
Yeah, that's the main action right now. That cell over the northern part of Covington County. This cluster will be that main cluster that we saw in the future evolution of the atmosphere. This is the cluster that will move all the way through the northern part of the area. And then we'll watch these cells southward. We haven't seen much lightning yet. We likely will as we go through the morning hours because we've got that warm and humid flow in from the Gulf. And again, the transitioning of that low-level jet from west to east across the area over the next, say, 3 to 4 hours will help enhance that wind shear potential. So let's break down this cell here coming on through the northern part of Covington County up into Crenshaw County here before too long. A big area of severe thunderstorm warning in effect, and the center of this cell right here is likely producing some hail also and some very gusty winds now surging northeast of Andalusia, not too far away from Brantley right now. Here's a look at that broad rotation just north of red level. We're using the radar here from Fort Rucker, so this is storm relative velocity, which is really good to kind of break down the rotation and accounting for the movement of the cell. So it's kind of a pure look at the rotation within the cell. So red here is outbound, green is inbound. So we've got that gate-to-gate shear. It's not very impressive right now, but this shows us that there is some rotation within the cell just north of red level. So outbound, inbound, there's the area of rotation there, not too far away from red level off to the east of 55. It is moving off to the east. I'll back this up just a few frames. We can see the movement of this cell as it goes off to the east-northeast, likely passing to the north of red level and then up into maybe the area around Dozier, looking down the road 15, 20 minutes or so, maybe up there towards Brantley. Generally speaking, some gusty winds. Now this is different if we switch over to the base velocity. So I'm going to go from storm relative to base. So a big difference here in the colors, but you get a little hint still of that rotation there north of red level. Some stronger winds mixed in with the rainfall, but we're kind of focused right now, and we will be all morning on the threat for rotation that leads to tornadoes. And that's the biggest concern that we have this morning. We might not see 10 tornadoes, we might only see 1 or 2, but we want to be on top of those if they do in fact form. So we're going to be looking for pockets like this of rotation. Zach is over there also monitoring what is happening with the radar across other parts of the area, and meteorologist Ryan Duggar is here as well. So we've got the full team as we track these showers and storms coming on through. So again, broad rotation there off to the northeast of red level, moving across the northern part here of Covington County. I'll go back over to the reflectivity view, and there's a look at the reflectivity. So that area of circulation basically embedded within this pocket of some heavier rainfall. That is going to move up into Crenshaw County and then eventually probably up into Pike County. So your early first alert for Pike County for some of these stronger storms to come on through. And again, the leading edge of this is producing some gusty winds, and that's why we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Covington County into Crenshaw County. There's a look at the base velocity. So the area here northeast of Andalusia, winds likely gusting in excess of 35 to even 45 miles per hour. And then there's that pocket of rotation showing up. It looks like that velocity scan might be lagging the actual radar scan by a minute or two, because more than likely that pocket of rotation is right in this area here as it moves up into Crenshaw County, the far northern part there of Covington County, and likely some hail. I'll throw the hail plot on here. And there's just a little hint right there, that light gray color that you see showing up, that kind of indicates that there is, at least a little bit of hail, not severe hail, but some hail within that cell. And this is the most powerful cell that we have in place across the area right now, and that has prompted that severe thunderstorm warning, which goes into Crenshaw County. Again, likely will go up into Pike County and moving on through the northern part of Covington County, and then eventually into the northern part here of Coffee County, say towards Jack, with some gusty winds from that cell. Watching that weak pocket of rotation, not very strong, but at least some indication of rotation. Again, red is outbound, green is inbound, so a little pocket of rotation here, the far northern part of Covington County, with that cell that is moving up into parts of Crenshaw, southern Crenshaw County, south of Rutledge, around the Brantley area. Big view. We've got a lot happening with this one cluster of showers and storms areas west and northwest. Some of these smaller cells popping over the southern part of Alabama into the Florida Panhandle. No severe weather there, at least not yet. And then watching a new severe thunderstorm warning areas just east of us, and then you can kind of make out that one tornado warning off to the northeast of Valdosta. So somewhat tranquil for most of the area this morning. If you're just tuning in, we're kind of at the beginning stages of this severe threat. 5:05 here in the morning. Between now and say 8 o'clock is going to be the main window of opportunity for severe weather to develop in the Wiregrass. This is not a high risk kind of a day. I will mention that there is some risk for sure. More of a medium low type risk. If you think of a steak as kind of like a medium rare, if you think rare is lower end, so there's some chance for some severe weather to break out. Certainly, we will see more severe thunderstorm warnings and probably some tornado warnings. What we're watching for is the potential for these smaller cells to kind of grow over the next couple hours. And most of the short-term modeling, which we have been sharing for days, has been very aggressive in this window between now and 8 o'clock in the morning, showing these cells kind of developing. And there's enough wind shear in place that any cell that becomes rooted in what we call the boundary layer can tap into that wind shear and start rotating and lead to potentially some tornadoes. I know a lot of you have a lot of anxiety when it comes to tornadoes on a morning like this when we've been in an enhanced risk. So we're here this morning basically to just kind of dissect the atmosphere, watch these areas of strong storms, and then determine if there's any rotation that will lead to tornadoes. And that's our primary objective this morning with all three of us here. Identify areas of rotation that could lead to tornadoes, and then also identify areas of strong straight line winds that can do some damage. Be weather aware, just tune in, let everyone you care about know that, hey, we're covering this live, a lot of experience here on the set this morning as we track these showers and storms. So we'll just kind of go all the way through the morning hours here with this live coverage, and again, keep dissecting every single radar scan that is coming in to keep you informed here on WTVY News 4. This cell moving into Crenshaw County is producing some heavy rainfall. Not much now in the way of significant rotation, which is why there has not been an upgrade to a severe thunderstorm, I should say to a tornado warning rather. It's still a severe thunderstorm warning for that risk for some gusty winds. Okay, what's happening in my ear? You guys have something to say? Okay, all right, okay, go ahead. LDOT shot in Troy here, so some wet roadways there coming on through Pike County right now. That area is not under any kind of a warning, at least not yet, but there are some heavier showers showing up there around Troy and areas to the west and northwest. All right, back to Max 2. So here's a look at the Troy area, some rainfall out there in Pike County. That severe thunderstorm warning is areas to the west into Crenshaw County, southward into Covington County. This is that cell that we're watching now off to the west of Brantley. Some small hail with this cell and some very, very heavy rainfall. We're not seeing any significant rotation, but there's some weak rotation with this cell showing up. It's north of Andalusia. It's kind of off to the west and southwest of Brantley. So what we're looking at here, this is really not the area that's real significant. That's more straight line winds. The pocket of weak rotation has been farther southwest of that core or the batch of really heavy rainfall, which is right here off to the west of Brantley. So there's some weak rotation in this area, and these are more gusty straight line winds in this area, the western and southwestern part of Crenshaw County. And then just rain, areas west and south and east of Andalusia. That's just some rainfall coming on through. Also about to get some rainfall over towards, say, Elba. The rain will be coming into your area before too long. Brantley, it's just rain, but watching again that pocket of some rotation areas west and southwest of you, right in through this area here of northern Covington County. A lot of lightning with that cell, and when we see a lot of lightning, that means there's a very vigorous updraft, and that can lead to the potential for some hail to form. So that pocket of hail, this hail tracker, by the way, does lag the radar by a few minutes. So what we're seeing here is probably somewhere in this area right now. But that gives us an idea that the hail potential is increasing just a little bit. And let me bring back Zach, because Zach, we were here together, I think the last time was January 9th of 2024.
Yep.
And you know what happened that day?
Yeah.
We had some hail damage to our vehicles, and I'll never forget, as long as I live, that image of you grabbing that hailstone and bringing it inside the station.
Yeah, that was some pretty good TV with that we were able to get that hailstone and throw it in. And then I mentioned to you right as you walk in the door, it's usually a really good thing or it's a really bad thing when we're both in the building at the exact same time with how much our shifts vary, because there's either a station cookout or we're dealing with severe weather like what we're dealing with this morning. You've been keeping your eye on that storm over the northwestern portions of Covington County. A couple of areas that I'm watching, you can see them right there on Max 1. It's always going to be the southern and the southwestern edges of these storms that we'll have to watch for maybe a little bit more of an increase in those areas of rotation. You can see a couple different spots. Not really a whole lot of rotation with either one of these cells, but I'm watching this first cell over now in the southwestern corner of Covington County, and then there's another cell, again, not really showing rotation, but you can see that little bit of an area. Let's see if I can get a pointer pulled up. A little bit of a tail end, kind of a hook there, about to move over Interstate 10 here, over in the west central portions of Walton County. Not really a whole lot of rotation, but as you mentioned earlier, a bit more of an increase in lightning in both of those. So we're keeping an eye on the storm that's moving through the northern portions of Covington County, but especially these storms that are kind of the southernmost in those complexes of cells. We'll have to watch those pretty closely for any sort of ramp up in rotation, lightning, or anything like that. So those are kind of the two cells that I'm watching the closest, farther off toward the south, that don't have any warnings on them, don't have any rotation on them just yet, but probably a couple of cells that we need to watch pretty closely over the next several minutes.
Yeah, when you see the uptick in lightning, that is certainly something to think about, because that means the storm is strengthening. All right, back to Max 2 with me at the wall. There's a look at that cell off to the west, northwest of Brantley. This is the core of that cell now in Crenshaw County that is producing some really heavy rainfall, and the pockets of dark red indicates the chance for some hail to mix in. Probably not severe hail, which is 1 inch in diameter or larger, but some pea-sized hail, certainly a possibility, maybe dime-sized in spots here in Crenshaw County. And now we have a new severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Pike County. Not a surprise there. That warning coming out from this is from Birmingham. Tallahassee is doing what Tallahassee does, and that's basically issuing these really big warnings way in advance of when a severe cell is going to move in. So yes, you were just placed under a warning in Dale County. I think they're kind of just wishing these storms in a little bit faster than what they're moving. So it will get there in Ozark. So I know you're under the warning now. Just it's going to take a while for you to get that severe cell, and the structure of this will change before it reaches your area. So again, Dale County, parts of Dale County under a severe thunderstorm warning. That threat is down the road here a little bit. More imminent is what's happening here in Crenshaw County, up into Pike County, and then eventually into the western part here of Coffee County. That's one of the things we're going to do this morning is you're going to see a lot of warnings fly here and there across the area. Our focus is to kind of pinpoint exactly where the actual bad weather is happening within the warnings, or even outside of the warnings in some cases like this. There's nothing happening in that warning area, for example, in Coffee or Dale counties yet, but there's some strong activity here in Crenshaw County. That will move up into Pike County, then areas south there watching the showers and storms develop. I do want to mention also, if we're not talking about your area, that means you're probably okay, because if there's some bad weather happening in a certain area, we're going to kind of hone in and focus on those areas. So if we're not talking about you in Kinsey or Ashford or Florala or Cottonwood, we're probably okay. So just keep that in mind as we go through the morning hours. We will focus in on those areas that are being impacted at the current time. In most cases, I'm going to take you real quick to Ozark, though. So there's a look at Ozark. Okay, severe thunderstorm warning in effect, no storm imminent. It will take a while to get there. There's a look downtown in Ozark, some lightning in the distance. So yes, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, but that cell is still pretty far away from you. So you got some time to keep monitoring this situation. All right, back to this radar view here. Areas northwest of Brantley, some heavy rainfall. Again, some small hail here and some gusty winds. I'm not seeing anything that would warrant concern for a tornado developing here. There's still some weak rotation with that cell southwest of Brantley, but what we're seeing here basically is straight line wind potential. I'm going to go back over to the base velocity here and get a couple different views. This is using Maxwell Air Force Base radar, so some gustier winds here, and the colors jump. So we're not going to focus exactly on the colors because we're so far away from the radar site. This is a pretty good view because the storms are moving up in that direction. So that little pocket of wind does stand out in the western part of Pike County. We go over to the Fort Rucker radar. There are some gustier winds here approaching Troy also. And these winds here are worth pointing out in the far eastern part of Covington County, about to move into Coffee County. So some areas of light blue showing up here that does coincide with this batch of some rainfall. There's really not much lightning, but there's some heavy rainfall. So the winds there may be gusting over 40 miles per hour. Zach, you're identifying these areas too. I'm not seeing any actual damaging winds anywhere yet in the Wiregrass.
Yeah, not seeing any areas of really any damaging winds. Also watching just some small areas of rotation, a few areas that I'm keeping my eye on the closest. Back down in Walton County near Definiak Springs, there's a couple cells that kind of starting to show that hook on reflectivity, your traditional radar, but still not really seeing anything that jumps out at us that would suggest that we're right on the edge of seeing a tornado warning. And then again, down in the southern and kind of now into the central portions of Covington County, kind of toward the bottom edge of that line of showers and storms that we've been watching the closest as that moves through the northern portions of Covington County and into Crenshaw County. Those are just a couple of areas that been keeping my eye on the closest, still not seeing anything that jumps out at us that says that we're right on the edge of having a tornado warning. And as David mentioned, not seeing any areas that are likely to really lead to any areas of just massive storm damage as far as damaging winds go, but just a couple small areas of rotation. Those will need to continue to be watched as they move off toward the north and the east. It's definitely in an environment where we could see some of these storms that could start to rotate and produce tornadoes. But yeah, for right now, my thoughts are the same as yours right now, David. A couple of areas that bear watching, but nothing that jumps out at me that says that we're getting pretty close to seeing a tornado warning or anything like that.
Yeah, let me take you up here to Pike County, and let me show you this one cell here off to the north of Troy. So there's Troy. There's some heavy rainfall here. There's just a little bit of a notch right through here. And let me switch you over to the storm relative velocity because there's just a little bit of an S shape showing up right here. So this is using radar from Fort Rucker, outbound versus inbound. There's some weak rotation here north of Troy in Pike County. So we're going to watch that area. As I back this up a few frames, you can kind of see how that is becoming a little more well-defined compared to where it was, say, 10 minutes ago. So watch that one pocket of rotation. That is north of Troy. Right there. Otherwise, a little area of weak rotation southwest of Brantley. Let's see, go southward here towards the Panhandle. Nothing that really stands out as far as any rotation potential. So the one area of rotation here looks pretty weak south of Brantley. But this little area north of Troy, it's small. Kind of reminds me of what you guys were tracking a couple mornings ago, late last week, with that little notch here on the leading edge of a cell. So that is an area worth watching. It's not very impressive yet, but there's still some indication of weak rotation. And sometimes that's all it takes is just a little pocket that briefly spins up, produces some damage, and then it kind of lifts up and is gone. But there's a lot of rainfall within that area, so you would never see it. It's just wrapped in rain. Areas off to the west of Jonesville, off to the north and northeast of Troy. Some very heavy rainfall. Pike County is the one county seeing the worst weather at this hour. I'll back this up a few frames too. And it looks like that cell is moving in here from the west and moving to the east-northeast. Maybe a little bit of a cell merger happening there. That area southeast of Troy kind of getting sucked up into that area. That's in the northern part of Pike County. So there's certainly some energy combining with the wind shear here, producing some rotation in the far northern and eventually northeastern part there of Pike County. Storm relative velocity showing that little notch, and then back over to the base velocity, very similar. Zach, that does remind me a lot of what you guys were tracking last week.
Yeah, and it may be something that we see, especially if we see that's kind of a part of the I reckon we would call it the new line segment that kind of developed. We had our main line of thunderstorms that moved into the western portions of Alabama. That part of the line's now starting to fall apart, and then you wound up with a few just kind of isolated storms that originally started. Now this is starting together kind of as our new line of thunderstorms that we're watching, and very, very similar to what we saw on Thursday along the leading edge of that line. There could definitely be some embedded areas of rotation that could very, very quickly produce a very brief tornado. It's maybe on the ground for around a minute or so. It does EF0 to EF1 tornado damage. It's down and it lives probably within 1 to 5 minutes. Very, very hard to issue tornado warnings in a timely manner for those. It's also very, very hard to see those on radar as far as our debris tracker and things like that. So I agree. A lot of this stuff back up toward Crenshaw and Pike County for now looks a little bit more like what we saw on Thursday, where the greater threat would be a couple of embedded areas of rotation that could very, very briefly produce a quick EF0, EF1 tornado that's maybe on the ground for about 5 minutes or so. And then we continue to watch any cells that are developing out ahead of this line segment, again, in an environment where we could see some rotation and potentially a few tornadoes if those individual cells out ahead of the line can really, really get organized in the environment that it's in.
Let's go southward. Speaking of that, down to the south here into the Panhandle. And all right, there we go. So there's a look at these lightning strikes popping up here around Definiak Springs, areas north of Caryville, some heavier pockets of rainfall up into Geneva County, over towards, say, Chipley, parts of Holmes and Jackson counties, seeing some heavy rainfall, and then up into Houston County also. So watching these showers popping up around Dothan and points eastward, a couple lightning strikes. So there's a new one popping up right there. Off to the east of Cottonwood, a lightning strike, and then south here and southwest of Dothan, looking at some lightning strikes. Also, no signs of any rotation with any of these cells. You can cut the mic on Zach there, TJ in the back. Watching a couple of these cells here popping up south of Madrid also. Some heavy rainfall and some lightning, but again, no signs here of any of these storms producing any rotation. That's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking for rotation potential, and we're looking for straight line wind potential that would be damaging straight line winds. So base velocity here, and this is basically what we're doing here this morning as we're kind of scanning the storms. We're doing it together, identifying areas of concern. Nothing southward here is concerning yet. As we go back to the north, watching these cells come on through parts of Coffee County. Again, we've had this big severe thunderstorm warning issued for Coffee County into Dale County. Kind of a bad warning because these areas here, you're under the warning. There's nothing happening. There's no threat of anything happening in the short term. This one cell here extends from Elba northward up into Pike County. We'll go back over to the base velocity, and there are some gustier winds here mixing in, but these are probably not reaching severe criteria, even elevated. We're looking at winds of 53, 49, so ground truth probably in that 40 to 45 mile per hour range. Certainly gusty winds, but thankfully not damaging winds for the most part. Now, I will say a 40 mile per hour wind gust can take down a weak tree, but it's not going to produce widespread damage, certainly no structural damage from a wind of 45 miles per hour. But we're going to watch for some pockets of stronger winds to develop in this area as we go through the next half hour or beyond. Again, mainly from this area northward. So if you're watching from Enterprise, you are still okay, even though you do have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. That cell may pass just north of you. So there's that cell. Yeah, that will likely pass to the north of you. So you're going to be okay for a while in Enterprise. Victoria, watch for these gusty winds to come on through. Jack in the northern part of Coffee County. Some more activity there towards Opp at this hour, and then some gustier winds coming on through Troy, areas northeast, and that will pass up to the area north there, likely of Pike County, and maybe clip the northern part of Barber County. As we go southward, some activity popping up there in parts of far southeast Alabama, Houston County into Geneva County. No severe thunderstorm warnings in any of these areas, but you can kind of tell over the past hour that these cells are growing. They're getting bigger. There's some more lightning mixing in. So there's a little more activity developing out there. These are growing a little more vertical in the atmosphere, and they may be able to tap into that rotation potential in the atmosphere and start showing signs of rotating or producing some gusty winds. So we're going to watch it off to the east of Bainbridge, some pretty good storms, but for the most part, at this hour, the Wiregrass is looking okay. That one cell that was pretty potent here in Crenshaw County has weakened a little bit. It's kind of in the aftermath of that other cells. So that initial cell coming out through Pike County has taken some of the energy from the atmosphere. So this cell is weakening as the other one kind of takes center stage. And then southward here, watching this area into the northern part of Coffee County, the potential for winds over 40 miles per hour. Not seeing any, again, widespread damaging winds from that storm, at least not yet. So we're doing okay so far this morning. Not seeing any concerning areas of rotation anywhere in the Wiregrass. Meteorologist Ryan Duggar is standing by. He's been tracking some of the power outages across the state of Alabama. For more on that, let's punch over to Ryan.
Yeah, David, I've been watching the power outages also in the back. Let me know my mic is on right now, too. I've been switching back and forth between muting and micing. Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. But yeah, while Zach and David are actively watching the radar, I'm on the side doing the same as of right now, and also going to be tracking the power outages that we see throughout our area this morning, similar to what I was doing for Thursday, because that's the biggest thing that we usually see with these storms. These straight line wind gusts can easily knock down trees, limbs, even power lines, and that's going to be something that we want to track throughout the morning. So really the biggest area of concern, we already kind of see that with the lightening of the color here. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit, maybe not with this map. All right, so, but you can kind of see the lightening of the color for Covington and Crenshaw County. That's where we're starting to see a little bit more of those power outages going up as those storms become stronger and heavier as they are making their way farther to the east. And out of 22,000 customers, or more than 22,000 customers tracked, over 700 are currently without power as of right now. Let's take a look at Covington County. This is also poweroutage.us or .com. Really great resource that we use to track power outages among multiple cooperatives and multiple companies. I guess I selected Covington County a little bit earlier. Let's see if I go back to Crenshaw. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so out of more than 7,000 customers right now, just over 300 are now without power. And we look at other resources like Wiregrass Electric Cooperative, not seeing anything in terms of power outages right now, but that likely will change as we continue to see those storms move farther to the east. We got multiple resources like Alabama Power, starting to see that those power outages, few in number, but are going up just behind that line as well. So I'll be keeping an eye on each of these websites as we continue forward for this morning. And of course, Dothan Utilities, we have our outage map there as well, also another great resource. And the biggest thing that I've definitely seen also, along with tracking everything that's going on the radar alongside you guys, is going to be watching the Facebook comments rolling in too. If anyone's got really big questions, I'll also be kind of trying to answer some of them as we go forward, especially if they're really pressing questions. So I'll be monitoring our Facebook comments just to see what's coming in. But from what I've seen on the radar, even though these storms are, packing a lot of lightning, as we've seen through some of the sky cams coming through, haven't seen much in terms of really concerning development as of right now. But we are going to be watching out for that, because as we continue to watch out for the placement of the low-level jet, and also if it does try to strengthen a little bit, it doesn't take much for these storms to fire up as we go through events like this. So we'll be watching it very closely. But it is pretty cool to have all three of us in here. Yeah, David, it reminds me a lot of January 9th, and that was 2 years ago now, over 2 years ago.
Yeah, usually if I'm here at this time of day, it's not a good thing. Usually I'm in bed, sound asleep at 5-something in the morning. But hey, I'm here just in case we get some stronger storms, and we've got all three of us here this morning to bring you that team coverage. The atmosphere is one of those days where there's potential for some strong storms to form, but it's not a guarantee. What is lacking is the instability. And coming into this morning, I've been just watching the instability levels. And instability is a combination of of temperature and dew point, because we've got the wind shear in place with that low-level jet coming on through. So the question has been, will we see enough instability to produce the big storms this morning? There's certainly the chance, but again, it's not a guarantee that we see multiple big tornadoes. Some mornings, I just have this feeling like it's all going to go crazy. I don't have that feeling this morning. So I guess that's good in a way, just because we're just not seeing that really, really deep moisture or the really, really warm air. We're around 70 for temperature, middle 60s for dew points. Now, if we were at 75 for a temperature and 71 in the dew point, that's a different level of energy in the atmosphere. So, so far so good, but I'll tell you, we've seen big storms with less energy in place than we have this morning. So you've got a lot of ingredients in place. Will they all come together this morning to produce some tornadoes? It certainly might be the case. It's just not a guarantee, which is why we're here monitoring it scan by scan. We are seeing an uptick in the convection or the bubbly nature of the atmosphere, and that is to be expected between now and, say, 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time is really the main window that we are watching. Big storms here ahead of the front. Some of these are weakening. Some are ongoing areas just north of us. And then we're seeing some new activity pop up here in the panhandle, lifting up into southeast Alabama. So these smaller cells will likely become bigger as we go through the morning hours. Will they start rotating? Will they start producing damaging straight line winds? They might. Again, it's not a guarantee this morning, but there's a chance. And it's one of those mornings where we may see several tornado warnings issued. We might not see more than one or two issued, if that. So there's still some variability in how this plays out this morning, but we're going to keep watching it for you as we go through the morning hours. Storm relative velocity, I love this product when it comes to tracking rotation potentials. We're just kind of popping around here. Does anything catch my eye? I've got the iPad up here too, watching radar. So we've got multiple ways, and Zach and Ryan here watching a bunch of different items as well. So what really stands out at this hour is what's happening up there in Pike County. Areas now to the east of Troy. This is, again, storm relative velocity. We're looking for pockets of rotation, a little notch right here, right along 231, and then another area generally right here, lifting up out of our area off to the north there of Pike County. So we're going to not focus so much on this area, but if you know anyone, say north of Clayton, up towards Midway, this is an area that is worth watching right there, okay? So we're going to focus on what's happening in our general area. Kind of a flashback to last week when we had a cell approaching Brundage that was looking a little more potent than this, but similar in the fact that there's some weak rotation. So off to the west of Brundage, off to the east and southeast of Mossy Grove, these are outbound winds. These are inbound using storm relative velocity. Base velocity looks a little bit different, but storm relative kind of hones in on that rotation area, which is weak right now, but there's some weak rotation with that cell that does bear watching. That will likely pass just to the north of Brundage, about to cross 231 right now, only a few miles to the northwest of Brundage there. So again, outbound, inbound, there's the broad area of rotation. If this were to produce a tornado, you would see tightening of this couplet, a very strong uptick in wind speeds, and then the tightening of that couplet. So we're not seeing that, but there's some potential with that cell there in Pike County. What does it look like on radar? Looks like a little bit of a notch right here. So that would be the inflow. This is a downdraft on the backside. So there's the area of rotation now, likely crossing a 231 just northwest of, northwest of Brundage. Little lightning mixing in with that cell. It's not overly strong, so the chance of anything spinning up lower end. But again, when you start seeing these notches on the leading edge of a line, we really kind of pay attention to that. Zach, looks like it's almost in the same area as it was last week.
Yeah, it is. That same area at around Brundage, eventually pushing over into places like Clio and over toward Clayton. Those are some of those same locations where we saw some of those first few severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings when we had that line of thunderstorms move through the region back on Thursday morning. David, it's something that you mentioned earlier, and I feel like it's important to mention once again, the idea that if we're not talking about your location, then it's raining, it's thundering, it's lightning, and all the above. if we're not really focusing on your location, chances are things are looking pretty good for you. There's no way we would miss a tornado warning or anything like that would be headed for your region. So I have noticed a pretty big uptick in the number of viewers that we've had on our Facebook live stream, continuing to keep an eye on that as well as radar. So pretty decent uptick in the number of viewers, about 200 or 300 within the last several minutes once we started getting some of those showers and some of those thunderstorms into Dothan. Some places you're seeing the heavy rain, you're seeing some wind, you're seeing some lightning and thunder for places like Dothan, and then back over into the eastern portions of Geneva County. For right now, it's all thunderstorms. There's no warnings associated with any of this. It's just thunder, lightning, and rain. Obviously, if things change to that view, we would let you know. But for right now, in a lot of locations, it doesn't really matter where you are. For the most part, it's thunder, it's lightning, it's gusty winds. But for right now, not seeing anything still that jumps out at us that says we should be seeing necessarily damaging winds or any areas of rotation that should lead to any sort of tornado warnings over the next several minutes.
Yeah, it looks okay in that regard. Interesting here, too. So we'll just touch on this because we've got different offices that warn for our area. And from Pike County to Barber County northward, that's Birmingham's National Weather Service office. They have dropped the warning. This is Tallahassee that covers down to the south. And this looks more impressive than this. There's a warning here from Tallahassee. There's no warning on these from Birmingham. Doesn't mean that these storms are weaker than these storms. It's just different offices issued differently, basically, is the way to put it. So we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Coffee and Dale counties. Are we seeing severe winds in these areas? We're not the way it looks right now, but there's some potential for some winds over, say, 40 miles per hour, maybe a little bit stronger in spots here around Elba. So we're going to keep watching these cells, areas to the north here too, very strong winds up there with the leading edge of this batch of showers and storms coming on through areas just north of Barber County, and then watching this area too right in through here because there's some rotation potential. Let's go back over to the storm relative velocity. So this area here will likely maybe clip the northern part of Barber County and then pass to the north there of Eufaula. So some rotation potential right here, very broad in nature at this point. That little pocket here that we're watching to the north of Brundage, not real concerning, but there's still, again, a little hint of weak rotation there crossing 231. It will pass just to the north of Brundage. As we go southward here, there's no rotation at all in Coffee County. Now, there is some heavy rainfall occurring and a little bit, maybe a little bit of a bowing segment there approaching Elba. So these winds may gust over 40 miles per hour. Victoria, that's just a rain shower and thunderstorm. The winds are not real strong. Base velocity, let me break that down, wind speeds here. And this is a pretty good view of what we're looking at. So 28, 25, there's a 40. These winds are elevated a little bit. So ground truth, probably not that strong, probably more like 40, maybe 45 miles per hour. 58 miles per hour or greater is technically a severe thunderstorm. So even though we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect, which would be winds of 58 miles per hour and or 1-inch hail, we are not seeing that in Coffee or Dale County. So yes, there's a warning, but so far so good as far as actual legitimate severe weather in our area. Southward, we are watching these showers and storms. I've mentioned it, Zach mentioned it. If we're not talking about your area, that means you're probably not seeing anything that is damaging in terms of wind or rotation or hail. So just keep that in mind as we go through the morning hours here. But there are...
Biggest thing I have seen on those storms that you're pointing out there, really just power outages increasing for the Florida-Alabama line into Geneva. But, I mean, that is a good pocket of lightning right there associated with those storms.
Yeah, and that lightning strikes, even without wind, lightning strikes can hit transformers and take out power just from the pure fact that you have a lightning strike and not associated with any winds or trees falling. So, yeah, something to watch here, an uptick in that lightning strike action, if you will, over the northern part here of Holmes County. That extends up into Geneva County and then into Dale County. Some decent rainfall likely to move in here from the southwest. Eventually Henry County, Houston County, some spotty activity as of right now, but no severe weather warnings in effect for this general area. But notice here there has been an uptick in in the aerial coverage and an uptick in the lightning strikes too over the past hour. So any of these cells over the next hour could be warned as the wind potential increases. I'll go back over to the base velocity and kind of run that through also over the past hour. So we're looking for any signs of stronger winds, gusting in spots. Not seeing anything that's real concerning. There are some showers and storms. We'll switch radars here up into Houston County. Not seeing anything real concerning there. There's the area of some gustier winds, again, likely in excess of 40, maybe 45 miles per hour over the central and western part of Coffee County. And even though that's not technically severe, that is strong enough to bring down some weak trees. We've seen that a lot with events like this. So a weak tree falling. A lot of trees have insect damage that you can't see. Maybe they're hollow in the middle, and now they're starting to leaf out. A 45-mile-per-hour wind gust takes them down, and it takes out a power line and can lead to some issues. So there's some potential for that in Coffee County, eventually here off to the north into Barber County. Right now that leading edge is in Pike County. There's no warning in Pike County, but that cell is stronger in Pike County than it is in Coffee County, where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. So some of those gustier winds now coming out through Brundage. We've been watching that very, very weak rotation. That does not look concerning at this point. There's a current view right there, and there's a look at the storm relative velocity. We'll zoom in a little bit here on Brundage. Maybe just a little hint, but it's not enough to be concerned about as far as any rotation with that cell. But there's some heavy rainfall moving on through Brundage, and then up here to the north of, say, Louisville, some heavy rainfall into the northern part of Barber County. Again, no severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that area, but some heavy rainfall. This is just pretty much a random thunderstorm towards Victoria. Base velocity winds here, yeah, there's nothing. So there's nothing here to worry about. Those winds are 20, 30 miles per hour. There is a little core here of some stronger winds between Elba and New Brockton, where you see some of the lighter blue showing up there, some enhancement of the winds within this thunderstorm. So approaching Elba, the heavier rainfall over towards Richburg right now, back over to the storm relative velocity. Not seeing any rotation potential. Base velocity, let's put some wind speeds on some of these pixels here. So there's a little uptick here. I see 62, so there's probably some of these winds here now gusting in excess of 50 miles per hour. So in the last couple minutes, there's been an uptick in some of those wind speeds there between Elba and New Brockton, more or less. There's a look at that one cell. It's not much, but there's been a little bit of an uptick in lightning and wind speeds with that warning that is in effect here. Areas north of Goodman, south of Elba, and again, we're in that window now where we're going to be watching for signs of rotation. Zach, so far so good with this cell, but maybe this is the first one that tries to organize and spin up.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility just kind of with the environment that we have in place. A good amount of energy in the atmosphere could lead to some rotation and some quick spin-up tornadoes. That's especially what I think we'll be watching for any of those storms that's right now moving through Coffee, about to move into Dale, out of Pike and into Barber County. We've been mentioning the parallels that we've seen with that line of storms compared to what we saw back on Thursday morning as well. I think we could also see that over the northern portions of Walton County, north of Interstate 10, over into Holmes County, and now starting to move into Geneva County. See where we have that secondary line of thunderstorms that's developed, and there's been some stronger pockets of lightning as well. You can see a pocket of that increased lightning right over the central portions of Holmes County. That will continue to move off toward the east, and it's along any of those leading edges of those line segments of storms. We may have to watch for a quick spin-up tornado, and then any of these individual cells that can develop out ahead of any of these line segments, if they can get organized enough, could produce some rotation and could wind up leading to some tornadoes as well. Already seeing questions talking about the all clear line. If you're talking about anybody right now, it's really Crenshaw County. Been watching communications. We have communications with the National Weather Service offices in Birmingham, Mobile, and Tallahassee. Those are the three National Weather Service offices that cover our area. And so far, the only one that's even being discussed right now as far as any sort of all clear goes would be Crenshaw County. get to the point not too terribly long where I think you can start talking about Pike County as well, but this early in the game, it's pretty difficult to really drop any areas as far as that all clear goes this early in the game.
Yeah, probably parts of Pike County into certainly Crenshaw, northern Covington. There's a look at the temperature. So there's the line that's been cooled by the rain, 62 now in Troy, 68 Andalusia, still 70 in Enterprise and Ozark, 69 Dothan, 71 in Mariana. So let's show you that cooler air that comes in, because once that cold front passes, your threat is over. Winds will kick around from the south to the northwest, and that northwesterly wind pushes in that really cold air. It is 13 now in Kansas City. It is 26 in St. Louis. It's cold up there. This kind of tells the story. So 59, that dew point now in Troy. Your severe threat is over there. Andalusia, 62 dew points. So we can pretty much shave this area away and give you the all clear there from areas north of Andalusia up there towards Troy. But everyone else, if you're looking at this area, still some potential for some strong to severe storms to come on through over the next couple hours. Again, we'll see that front continue working in from the west and northwest, and once it passes, you're in pretty good shape. So Troy, now you're behind that line. So there's really kind of the risk area somewhere in this general vicinity. If you're north now, it looks like Andalusia is done, because any cells that fire up will be south or to the east, and Elba almost out of it also, as this segment here is kind of bowing out a little bit farther ahead than the area to the south. So that cooler and drier air is working in, kind of limiting or cutting off that threat altogether across parts of Pike County at this hour. We do have some more showers and storms firing up here southward into the Panhandle. These are still relatively small in nature, but they are growing, and there's some potential for these to become severe over the next hour or so as they move up into far southeastern Alabama. That one cell there kind of stands out as we zoom into maybe the central part, I'd say, of Coffee County. Let's zoom in here to this area between Elba and about New Brockton right now. Some heavy rainfall with that cell and some gusty winds. Let me go back over to the base velocity. So that core of stronger winds, these are in excess of, say, 40, 45 miles per hour. They did peak there briefly, and then they came back down. So they came on through Elba, maximized about right there, and now they look a little bit weaker. Part of that is the fact that we're getting closer to the radar site, so you're shooting lower and lower in the sky. So when you're far away from the radar site, your beam is up there at 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 feet where the winds are stronger. There's no friction up there. So as the storms become closer and closer, get closer to the radar site, usually you'll see a downtick in the wind speeds. It doesn't mean the storm is weakening. It just means that you're scanning lower in the sky. So we don't always, if we plot, for example, a 58 right here, 58 miles per hour, ground truth is probably more like 45 or 50 in a lot of cases. Not every case, but in a lot of cases. So we kind of factor that in as we analyze the radar. Still some gusty winds, and as I mentioned before, 40, 45 mile per hour winds can take down some weak trees and produce some power outages. So we're going to watch that very closely, but I'm not seeing any confirmed winds here on radar that would be 58 miles per hour or greater. But gusty winds, that extends northward into Barber and Pike counties, even though we have no warnings in effect up here. It's basically the same or even stronger than it is in Coffee County, where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Some weak pockets of rotation still showing up here. That's base velocity. Storm relative velocity, we look for some small enhancement of the winds, and we look for these S shapes. So there's one little one right there off to the east of Hamilton Crossroads, and then a little one here by Richland. Very, very weak pockets of rotation. That could be a very quick spin-up tornado at some point over far eastern parts of Pike County into the far western part of Barber County. Nothing guaranteed with that, but some weak pockets of rotation that we're watching. Back to base velocity here, some gusty winds around New Brockton. And then as we go farther southward here, a couple different radar views of this activity coming on through Holmes County up into Geneva and Houston counties. Not seeing any signs of rotation. Storm relative velocity, that's a signature there of just some of a downdraft. The wind's kind of splitting with that cell there approaching Rehoboth. But guys, we're seeing a little more of an uptick in activity area south compared to just say 30 minutes ago, Zach.
Yeah, I really noticed a pretty big uptick in some of those thunderstorms out across portions of Walton over into Holmes, about to move into the northern portions of Washington County, now into the southeastern portions of Geneva County, and across a good portion of Houston County. This is kind of that first round of thunderstorms that's starting to move into the area. I do want to point out, and I'll take you to a wider view of satellite and radar here. Notice there's still some storms lined up back here out across portions of Baldwin County in Alabama, over toward Escambia and Santa Rosa counties over in the western portions of Florida Panhandle, and then Escambia County in Alabama. So yes, we have that first line of storms that's starting to move through places like Walton, Holmes, Geneva, and over into Houston County. We'll get those storms out of the way, but there's still some more storms farther back off toward the west that we'll need to watch. And then purely for formality's sake, here's a look at the severe alerts. A lot of people are going to be asking about the all clear. We can say for sure Crenshaw County and all of Pike County all clear, even all the way up to the extent that we don't have any tornado watches in effect anymore for Crenshaw and Pike County. Likely still holding on to that tornado watch in Covington County because you still have some of those thunderstorms that are still moving through Escambia, Santa Rosa County in the Florida Panhandle, Escambia County in Alabama. Some of those will still have to move through Covington County. We're already seeing some more of those storms developing out across the west central portions of Covington County. So anybody in Crenshaw County, anybody in Pike County, we're pretty comfortable with calling your severe weather threat over. Brantley, Luverne, up toward Highland Home, Troy, Banks, Brundage, places like that, you're pretty much good as far as your severe weather threat goes. That line just now starting to move into the far western portions of Barber County, so Clio, Louisville, Clayton, eventually over into Eufaula. Those storms move into your area over the next about 30 to 45 minutes or so as that line continues to move its way off toward the east. Still not ready to give the all clear anywhere in Coffee County. You're getting that first line of storms that's now moved to the east of Opp, to the east of Elba, about to move over into Enterprise, but there's still some more storms back over into the western portions of Covington County that will still need to move eastward and into your region. And then we're watching that larger and growing batch of thunderstorms that's now moving through the eastern portions of Walton County to the south of Interstate 10, much of the central portions of Holmes County. Heavy rain, lots of thunder, lots of lightning, some loud storms, some gusty winds, and now we're starting to see a lot of the same move over into the eastern and southeastern portions of Geneva County and into the west central portions of Houston County as well.
Yeah, let's go over to this one little cell here. I was kind of monitoring this on the side. I'm going to zoom into, here's my zoom tool. I can't see it. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. All right, so there's a look here at Houston County, the area around Rehoboth. A pretty good cell there. Taylor to Rehoboth, southward to Merritt's Crossroads. So watching this area here in the western part of Houston County, there is some rain coming into Dothan, especially downtown, but this area to the south and southwest has some heavy rainfall. So the base velocity, there's just a little uptick here in those wind speeds just south of Rehoboth into parts of Geneva County. Not real strong. By an uptick, I mean probably 25, 30 miles per hour. Yeah, there's a 32, 39, 32. So ground truth is probably 25 to 30 miles per hour. Gusty winds, not damaging winds.
On the Flowers camera.
Let's see it. Pop it up with the Flowers cam.
It's a little because of the rain that we have on the camera lens, but definitely every now and again you get some pretty good lightning strikes showing up on that camera.
Yeah, so that little surge of wind is moving northward here. So let's go back over to Max 2 with me. So there's a look at just the last couple frames here. So there's the gust of wind here moving northward, approaching Rehoboth right now. That will likely make it up into the Dothan area. So we're going to watch this. Go back over to reflectivity. So within that heavier batch of rainfall right in through here is where we have those gustier winds. That is lifting up to the north. So about to get a lot wetter and a bit more rough, I guess, in Dothan and Houston County, not real bad. I mean, this is not severe weather, but certainly an uptick in the rain rate and the lightning strike count also moving up into the Dothan area there in Houston County. Some pretty good rainfall. That's rain that we really need coming on through Geneva County southward into the Panhandle. Everything here shifting to the northeast. Not severe, but there are some gustier winds, 25, 30 miles per hour mixed in. Areas north here watching this line. I'm not seeing any severe winds with this line at all. We're looking at winds here at about 30, 40 miles per hour max here coming on through that area that is under the warning. Let's go over to the Enterprise cam. Zach, what do you have over there? Okay, so
been seeing some lightning out in the distance. We're getting pretty close to those storms moving down Highway 84, and we're talking about only a few miles away from these storms starting to move in Enterprise. Already seen some of that lightning out in the distance, but right now things calm for the moment in downtown Enterprise, but give this about another 5 to 10 minutes or so, and we're looking at a much, much different scene. Also starting to see some lightning showing up on some of our cameras that we have in downtown Dothan. A couple of cameras that we have on our building, one pointing on really either end of Foster Street, already starting to see some of that lightning beginning to pop up as well. So lots of lightning, lots of thunder. Some places you're already seeing some pretty heavy rain as well, but still so far, the only warning that we have in effect is that big blanket warning that they issued for Coffee and Dale County, and that's been in effect for what, about 30 or 45 minutes or so now?
Yep. Hey, do me a favor if you can, double box the Enterprise Rawls cam with this shot. So there's a cell here that I'm watching, the northwest side of Enterprise, and I point that out because the storm relative velocity, there's just a little hint of rotation in that area. I mean, it's not real strong or anything to really be concerned about, but there are some gustier winds right there, so some weak rotation. These are inbound winds. There's really not much, honestly, of an outbound. No, I don't see really any out. It's really just inbound. So it's really more of a straight line wind threat than any kind of a rotation threat, I should say. But there's a little funky little appendage there. So that camera is about right here that you're looking at. This is the area north and west of Enterprise. So we're going to watch this cell just because as it comes into Enterprise, because we've got that live cam. Go ahead and keep that live cam up if you can there, TJ. So we're going to keep that live cam up and just watch this cell as it moves into Enterprise, basically hitting, say, the northern part of the city first, and then kind of overtaking the southern part of the city. There's really not much lightning. You don't see it on the radar. You don't see it as you look at the camera. So it's a shower, more or less. Storm relative velocity, yeah, there's no indication of any rotation showing up with that. Let me just back this up a little bit. Just a little core of some stronger wind, base velocity right here, right along the northern part of the circle. I'm going to back that up just a couple frames here. And by stronger, I mean maybe it was a 35 mile per hour wind gust there, and maybe it's 30 miles per hour right now. So we're kind of grasping at something bad that really isn't that bad, to be honest with you. So we're just watching, though. We got the camera set up there in Enterprise. I'm not seeing any signs of any severe weather. I'm not seeing anything significant as far as rotation potential or strong winds, but there are some pockets within this cell that may produce winds in excess of 30 miles per hour. So we'll watch that, keep that cam up as we go through the next couple minutes here. I'll switch over to the reflectivity again. Big view across the area. Hey, we're looking pretty good. Overall, we are looking pretty good across the Wiregrass. All done in Pike County, in Troy. You're fine. You can go back to bed or get your day going. Crenshaw County also. Once that line comes on through, the atmosphere is cooler and more stable. That extends to the west towards Andalusia, but south of Andalusia, off to the east of Andalusia, still fair game for some strong to severe thunderstorms to come on through. There's a big difference in the placement of this push of cooler air and the less humid air. It extends now from Barber County way back, kind of dangles its way back towards, say, areas west of Pensacola. In the heart of the Wiregrass, showers and storms coming on through. We do not have any other warnings in effect at this hour, and the warnings that we do have in effect are kind of marginal warnings because we're not seeing any widespread damaging winds, thankfully, in Enterprise area. Coffee County in general or into Dale County. Let's go back up here to a couple camera shots that we can give you. First of all, with Enterprise.
There's the rain at the walls.
All right.
Enterprise.
Yeah, swap that if you can. Put the radar in the box and the walls up big screen if you can, TJ. So there's that rainfall coming into downtown Enterprise at this hour. Again, no lightning showing up within this batch of rainfall. I'm not seeing any lightning strikes. We're not seeing it on the live cam either. If you can't, take it full. So there's a look downtown in Enterprise right now. That rainfall coming on through the camera. This camera always kind of shakes a little bit if the winds are 20 miles per hour. So seeing some shaking of the camera doesn't indicate that there's anything real bad happening. Very quiet this morning in downtown Enterprise. I don't see any cars really moving right now, but certainly a possibility as people get out and about. Once this line passes your area, you're going to be okay in Coffee County for the most part. We'll keep watching. There's still some areas west and southwest of Enterprise that may see some storminess come back in, but areas certainly north of Enterprise, once this passes, you are looking pretty good as that more stable air comes in. Behind this very strong cold front that will be passing as we go through the morning hours, a big change in the weather. Okay, let's go over to that Ozark cam. We are dry yet in Ozark, but just north and west, we've got some heavier rainfall, a lightning strike showing up. I'm going to check that notch at the same time, so let me do that too. There's just a little notch along the leading edge. Let me go storm relative velocity on that. Okay, not seeing anything that would equate to any significant rotation with that. Okay, so over to that Ozark cam, what do we have with that? Pop that.
Lightning thing's still pretty quiet there right now. Obviously, a lot of our storms are still. That was a big flash of lightning. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. Storms are still maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes away from moving into Ozark, so you're seeing some of that lightning out in the distance. And similar to what we were just talking about in Enterprise, you give this about another 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll see scenes in Ozark very similar to what we saw in Enterprise, where you get lots of heavy rain. That rain starts coming down in sheets, and you start seeing some of those gusty winds blowing through the area as well. So quiet for now, but changes on the way, maybe about another 5 to 10 minutes away.
Yeah, and that they dropped the warning. So okay, back over to Max 2 here. They did drop that warning. So that's good because these are not, we want warnings if they're issued to be legitimate severe thunderstorm warnings. So when you get a warning and you're woken up to it, let's focus on where the weather is bad. And that storm cluster wasn't quite there, wasn't quite up to 58 miles per hour. It did pulse there earlier in Coffee County. So as of right now, we have a tornado watch in effect, no warnings of any sort, no severe thunderstorm warnings, no tornado warnings in the Wiregrass. Let me focus in here on the Dothan area because we've got some heavier rainfall moving on through the south and east side of the city, some lightning strikes by Ashford. We've got a live cam on the east side of Dothan at southeast, and we're going to have Zach pull that up here because that camera is situated about right here, and if we point it maybe southward, Zach, or eastward.
That's already looking east.
Okay, so let's pop that up. Yeah. All right, so he'll move it around here a little bit. Pretty good rainfall. Yeah,
big lightning strike.
Yep. A lot of rain out there, a lot of water on the roadways.
A lot of wind, too. Look at the American flag down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen.
Pan that to the right a little bit.
Gonna have to do this manually. Our joystick's not working at the moment.
Yeah,
that's now looking a bit more southeast. You can definitely see the heavy rain coming down, how quickly you lose some of that visibility as you get farther out in the distance. Lots and lots of lightning, lots and lots of heavy rain, and again, as you saw with that American flag flying, there was a good amount of wind blowing through as well. I'll kind of hold that right there.
Yeah, keep that shot up. Can you put up the radar box in the corner? Can you put Max 2 in the box? Southeast full? Okay, he's going to work on that in the back. So what was interesting is, that camera is right here and just looking a little bit out. Now swap that around if you can. This is interesting here because that heavier rainfall is just in the distance there of where that camera is. Some really heavy rainfall on the south side of the circle also, down maybe towards Eastgate Park. Some pretty good, right there was Eastgate Park showing up some pretty good rainfall in that area. I don't think he knows how to do that. Is that the deal? Okay, he's trying to figure it out. So Ashford behind the box, some heavy rainfall. So they're southeast. So yeah, just there you go, just outside of that. Well, look at that. Just
Lots
outside
of lightning.
That view,
Yeah.
outside of the circle is some really heavy rainfall. And it's really incredible because that's Zach, you look at that area right there, that's some really intense rain.
Yeah, I mentioned
the
earlier,
red.
it's amazing how quickly you lose that visibility. I mean, you're talking a couple thousand feet maybe from where that camera is to where you start to lose some of that visibility. It's not really because there's not a whole lot of lights out that direction. It's just you've got some of that heavy rain coming down not too terribly far away from where that camera is.
Go south because look at that. That rain now, that area of red is kind of coming up now into the east side of the city. So pan that to, the other way to the right to go more southward. You should see that kind of coming, look at that, coming up into view now. So, yeah, you're going to watch that visibility kind of drop there with that heavy rainfall moving on through. So, heavy rainfall, dark red showing up there on radar. Oh, look at the lightning strikes, too. So
You can't even, obviously these lightning strikes are coming down as actual lightning bolts. You usually don't get like actual flashes of lightning when it happens. It's actual lightning bolts, but we've got so much heavy rain coming down, it's just showing up as these big flashes of lightning instead of seeing the actual bolts of lightning.
And this is not severe.
No.
This is just a good old-fashioned thunderstorm, but there's the potential for this to become a little bit stronger as we go through time. Okay, back over to max 2 full, and let's track what is happening here. So this is base velocity. These are inbound winds. Some gustier winds now coming into the southern part of the city. By gustier, I mean probably 30, 29, 25, 26. Pop back up that camera and go to the flag. Just kind of get your reference of what a 20, 25 mile per hour wind looks like with that American flag flying. Go ahead and pop that box up there.
Camera's doing a pretty good amount of shaking as well. No, go back to southeast.
Southeast. Yeah, pop the box.
You'll see it center bottom of your screen as soon as we can get it pulled up.
Okay.
Right there toward the center bottom of your screen, there's that American flag.
Yep. Those are winds gusting at probably over 25 miles per hour, 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts right there on the east side of the city of Dothan. So that's a non-severe thunderstorm. Go back over to max 2 now. The core of that cell is off to the east there, over towards, say, Ashford and up towards Webb. Some pretty good rainfall. Again, not severe, just some heavy rainfall, some thunder, some lightning. We really haven't seen much on the west side of Dothan. There's some rainfall coming in. That little cluster of storminess over Geneva County into the western part of Houston County has actually weakened a little bit. There's a look at base velocity, and over the past hour, there was a little surge there in winds. That's actually that little surge of winds is what came on up here into the west side of, I should say the east side of the city of Dothan. So what we're seeing there are those winds in excess of 20, 25 miles per hour. And then we go northward here. We've got some pretty good wind coming on through Dale County into the Ozark area. So there's a look at the radar into the west side of Ozark. And we've got Ryan standing by live, but I'm going to have him wait a minute because, Zach, let's pop up the Ozark Dale County cam. Okay, so let's see that. Put a little box, if you can, in that corner.
Ozark just yet. It's still coming down Highway 231, just about to move into that far northwest corner of Ozark. You can see some of those flashes of lightning that are starting to show up. And again, just like what we mentioned with that Enterprise camera, we're talking just a few minutes away from things going very overall quiet. I know there's some thunder to go along with that lightning, but a pretty quiet view right now. But give this about another 3 minutes or so. Let this storm get further down Highway 231, and it will be a pretty active scene here on this same camera.
That camera's right there, so it's not too far away. Heavy rainfall, Dill over to areas west and southwest of Ozark. Some lightning strikes mixing in. This is not a severe thunderstorm. Base velocity winds, they're gusty. They're just not damaging. They're not severe winds.
I will point out while you already have base velocity pulled up, or you may be able to see it better on Storm Relative, noticing a couple of good pushes of wind along the leading edge of that line up around Ayrton, along and just to the east of Ayrton there.
Yeah, kind of all in the same ballpark pretty much. Those winds probably 35 to 45 miles per hour. We're also monitoring, as we always do, for little pockets of rotation on the leading edge of that push of stronger winds, and there's some waviness to this line, but no significant notches. Maybe a little area there that is worth watching off to the north of Ozark, but Not seeing anything concerning as I look at the radar here and the animation. It's pockets of gustier winds. This is not as bad as it was back on Thursday morning. This setup so far is just the wind speeds are not as strong as they were back on Thursday morning. So back over to the velocity scan now.
And I think it's, as you mentioned, just the overall instability a bit lower, with this round of storms than what we saw back on Thursday. A couple pockets where it's trying to show some rotation along the leading edge of that line, but overall just not really as much instability for these storms to tap into and really try to start rotating.
So there's that one little area I pointed out to the north side of Ozark. So there's a core here of some stronger winds. Now that little uptick probably is over 50 miles per hour. Yeah, so 53, 55.
And you're decently
56.
close to the radar site too. So you're talking
50.
maybe, what, 1,000 feet maybe off the ground with the radar beam from that far away?
Yeah, so that's, if we see some pockets of wind damage, it'll be from a pocket like this, just to the northwest side there of Ozark. These winds may be gusting over 45 to 50 miles per hour. This is the first scan to show that. Go back one scan, it was there. So just that latest scan shows that uptick in winds. This will cross the northern part of the city of Ozark, more than likely. Just a little uptick there in the wind speeds. Let me go back over to reflectivity, and then keep our camera up there, TJ, if you can. Keep that camera. So, Zach, can you play around with that camera? See if you can zoom in and get some wind speeds as that comes on through.
Well, here comes the rain.
Yep, there's the rain.
There's your first indication. And one of the things I noticed,
camera's right there.
You've got that rain coming down in sheets as well. I don't know if we can possibly take that live. I don't know if you mind that too terribly much, David.
Yeah, go ahead. Pop it full screen. Yep.
View in Ozark, you notice, especially in these lights, you notice where we have this rain kind of coming down in sheets. I'll try to zoom in on one of those street lights that we have.
Do you have a tree with leaves or?
Yeah, maybe I can look around at that, but you can
there
also,
you go.
I mean, you can see the rain coming down in sheets there in the lights. I'll pan this around. I see a couple of some of the kind of looser power lines that are shaking in some of those stronger winds. So far, not seeing anything as a flag or anything like that, but I'm sure we can find one. But I think the biggest indication right now is just the rain coming down in sheets and the way it moves across the camera lens there.
Pop
the
up
way
the
the wind.
velocity scan.
Yeah.
Do the other radar in the box. So I just want to show you this. We'll wait for that to pop up. Radar
So-
in the box. So there was that one scan that had the uptick in velocity.
Yeah.
That's come down a little bit in the latest scan. So
New severe thunderstorm warning. It's another one of those big severe thunderstorm warnings. Coffee, Dale, northern Houston, Henry, and over into Clay County in southwest Georgia.
So there's a look at that new warning area. So
They do mention
big.
tornado possible, which is expected along that leading edge of those storms.
yeah. So so we had that one little area there of some gustier winds that was passing across the northern side of Ozark. It pulsed there briefly. It's weakening now, so we're not seeing any severe winds within this area, which is some good
Lots
news.
of
but
lightning.
A lot of lightning with that cell. Also seeing some pretty good rainfall approaching now the west side of Enterprise. So maybe punch up the rolls as we look at the Enterprise radar right there. So there's a look at downtown, looking good. How about the EEC camera?
Yeah.
So the base velocity, and I say that because, go switch this around. Bring up Max 2 full screen with the box the other way around. There's a little core here of some stronger winds. Again, these are really, really small pockets of strong winds mixed in. These are 50 plus mile per hour winds. There's a 60, so these are, again, elevated a little bit, but these winds may be gusting over, say, 50 miles per hour at ground level, approaching the west side of Enterprise. So we're going to watch this very closely. Also here, that little core right through here, the area in light blue. So there's the edge of the circle there, 192. There's you see one
Big flash of lightning.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, a lot of lightning strikes here. This will likely, let me back this up a little bit. So that's just really one image here, one frame that shows that impulse. What we're seeing here, and that's the potential this morning, is a storm may look okay, and then all of a sudden there's a quick burst of wind over a small area that does some damage. So certainly a possibility of that moving into the western side of Enterprise. And then again, watching that area around Ozark too, of some stronger winds coming right on through the city. Not severe damaging winds, but some gustier winds coming on through the city of Ozark. And then just to the west here of Enterprise. We'll give this one more scan. We've got Ryan standing by live outside in Dothan too. We're gonna get to him in just a couple of minutes here. Let's give this one more scan because that's the core of some stronger winds, and that is likely right now working its way through the city of Enterprise. Any difference? Do you see any trees moving in that camera? Can you zoom in
No,
Zach?
but we're also in we're still in night vision mode.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
kind of
kind
a
of
hassle.
makes things look less clear.
And that core of the winds are just north of where this is.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There's
some pretty good winds are gonna come in there.
every time you get a flash of lightning out there in the distance, you can kind of see the edge of that storm. There you go. There's
Yeah,
a good flash there. Likely a shelf cloud on the leading edge of that looks very ominous whenever you see that during the day, but usually a pretty good dividing line from where things are a little bit quieter to where you have the heavy rain and all the gusty winds coming down. There's almost certainly a shelf cloud on the leading edge of that. Okay. Every now and again I can see a few raindrops coming down, but for the most part, that EEC camera looking decently quiet for the moment.
How about Rawls? Let's switch it
Rawls,
over, 'cause that's about to move
I
downtown.
know things, rain has picked back up in Rawls. There was a brief moment where that rain downticked a little bit, but now it looks like we're starting to see that rain.
Look at the base velocity coming right on through downtown. So this is storm relative. You know, inbound, outbound, really, it's not much in the way of rotation. Base velocity shows just a core of stronger straight line winds coming right on through downtown. Okay, switch these around if you can, TJ. Put up the box of radar too. So there's a look here.
You can see the wind starting to pick back up.
It's shaking a little bit more. These winds coming on through, let me put a little wind tracker on there, probably 35, 40 at least. There's a 55, 50, 53 elevated. So maybe up to 45, maybe even 50 at ground level. Again, we have to subtract a little bit of what we're seeing from the estimated winds because we're shooting high in the sky with the radar. But ground truth here, probably 40, 45 miles per hour, maybe up to 50 miles per hour in downtown Enterprise. Look at that now. Zoom in a little bit.
Oh,
Look
yeah,
at that.
there's...
it's picking pretty good there. So there's the batch coming on through. Again, these are strong enough winds to take down some weaker trees. A 45, a 50 mile per hour wind gust can certainly cause some damage.
Look at how the wind is blowing the water across the road there.
Yeah.
That's kind of our biggest indication of the kind of gusty winds that we're seeing. In addition to the camera shaking, but this camera will do some shaking in 15 mile per hour.
Go to the right. There's a flag. Yeah, there's a flag.
There is. That's right.
Yeah.
Let me zoom out and get panned around to that.
Good view.
I wish we had the joystick.
Right there. I think right.
Did I pat? It's above us. There's the American flag that's above us.
Yeah, I thought there was one over
camera.
there to the right. We're going to do this live. So there's a look at the radar of that storm coming on through. Keep going.
Keep going?
Yeah. Keep going. Somewhere. Is there somewhere right in there? Was there? Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. I mean, obviously, we have the American flag that's above us. The traffic light. You can see the traffic light doing a little bit of shaking. You want to go back to the home view on that?
Yeah. So there's, you can see the radar. All of downtown Enterprise now just being hammered by that heavy rainfall. This is not damaging winds, but you saw that quick burst come on through. Those winds gusting over 40 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour, strong enough to, again, take down some weak trees. That is spreading now through downtown. So that area in blue downtown is what we just saw come on through. That is going towards Fort Rucker. We'll likely make it into Fort Rucker here before too long if that holds together to the north, basically, of Coppinville. Yeah, that's an area of some stronger winds. Not real strong, not widespread 50, 60 mile per hour winds, but
winds really picking up in downtown.
Yeah, look at this, some pretty good rainfall. That's the red coming on through. I mean, that's some heavy rainfall. Yeah, there's a look at the velocity. And there's, look at that. That's the bullseye right there. So heavy rainfall coming on through Enterprise right now, some gusty winds. We are not seeing any rotation with these cells. And that's really important to point out because we've been in this area of risk for tornadoes. We haven't seen any sustained rotation with any of these storms. There's been some broad rotation at times. I'm going to animate this. Go ahead and switch it around and bring up max 2. So there's a look at the storm relative velocity over the past hour, and that cell coming on through Enterprise doesn't really have any significant rotation with it. I'm going to go northward here. We're looking for pockets of rotation with the leading edge, not seeing anything there. Moving southward, you can almost make out, look at that, you can make out, I'm going to go over to the base velocity here. It might be kind of a cooler view to look at. Some of those, the wind, just look at the energy in the atmosphere. There's a lot of wind energy out there in the atmosphere, and we're watching for maybe some pockets of rotation to develop. That one area that we saw earlier came right on through here, lifted up to the north, is moving up there towards Henry County. But Zach, what we're seeing are more pockets of straight line winds, not pockets of rotation.
And pockets is that key word. You were mentioning it whenever we would look at the base velocity or the storm relative velocity. You would get these very, very small pockets showing up of either bright green or bright red, depending on whether or not those winds are blowing toward the radar or away from the radar. But you get these very, very small pockets where you may see those winds increase up to around 40 or 50 miles per hour. But we're seeing that over the pockets of rotation where we would be otherwise dealing with some quick tornadoes. They all do damage all the same, whether or not it's a EF0 tornado or some gusty winds up to 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. Those can do damage all the same, but yeah, that's kind of been the thing, is you get a couple of scans where you get these really, really gusty winds, and visually it's about like when you fill up a bucket with water and then turn it upside down on the concrete, and all that water just spills out all at once. And obviously once it hits the ground, it can't go through the ground, so it spreads outward, and that's where you're getting some of those gusty winds with some of those heavier batches of rain. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's just happening in these smaller pockets, not really very widespread around the region, just in a few isolated areas from time to time.
And it's been pretty wild, too, because some of these gustier winds, when they pulse over 45 or 50 miles per hour, it's really one scan. It's about a 2-minute, 3-minute window where the winds blow really, really hard over a small area, and then they kind of relax once again. All right, let's go over to meteorologist Ryan Duggar. He is in downtown Dothan outside with a look at the weather here, and so far so good in the city of Dothan, especially downtown. We've had some rainfall come on through, but the weather is not real bad. Zach, over to you, or Ryan, I should say, over to you.
Yeah, David, I know y'all have been talking about those storms in Enterprise and Ozark, so I wanted to keep this quick. But over here is really where the fair share of the lightning has been going on. This is pointing towards Ozark, and you see already some flashes here. I've been seeing some really big lightning arcing down from the cloud. You can see the really good structure of that storm, and maybe we'll see a flash and we can kind of see where the cloud base is. But yeah, it's been definitely packing a little bit more of that energy, so no surprise that y'all have been tracking some more of those gusty winds. While for here in Dothan, I know I saw some Facebook comments earlier, the lightning is going on for areas farther to the south. It is getting noisy, but yeah, I would say even just from a view here on the surface, this is the storm that's packing a little bit more of that energy. We just got a little bit of rain coming down here at the station in Dothan, but you still see some more of those flashes. Yeah, I would say the storm in Enterprise and this one still making its way probably out of Ozark right now, or just on the leading edge. Those are the storms to continue tracking.
All right, thank you for the update downtown here in Dothan. Okay, let me give you a recap. All right, if you're just tuning in, this is what we're watching this morning. First of all, we've got a tornado watch in effect for many areas until 9, but it won't really go until 9 because that threat will be over in most areas in our area before 9 o'clock. We've got some heavy rainfall in pockets. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just...
Okay, we got.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me know if you got something, Zach. Let me know. We've got some pockets of gustier winds mixed in. No signs of any significant rotation right now. So we have one big severe thunderstorm warning in effect, just to cover the fact that within this batch of storms, there could be some winds at times pulsing over 50 miles per hour. We've got the threat that is over now. Even in Enterprise, I was looking at the latest observation, the wind shifting around to the west-southwest, 63 over 60. So that dew points dropped here from 70 to 60 in Enterprise. Northward.
Tornado warning, northeastern Dale and over into northern Henry. It's right around the radar site.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Tallahassee had mentioned that they said there was a tornado warning coming for the area, but granted we're close to the radar site, but I didn't really see a whole lot. I don't know if you see something different than I do. Obviously, when you're that close,
that area.
yeah.
That's
when you're that close to the radar site, it's obviously good to be close to the radar site, but it comes to a point where it kind of works as a detriment to be that close to the radar site. A really bright area of pixels there.
Yeah,
you see the.
I don't. Yeah, I've been watching it right here too. I don't know. Okay, so let's just let's look at the warning first of all. The polygon shape here, which is including parts of Dale County here into the northern part of Henry County, including the city of Abbeville, Echo also. This is the leading edge of the line of showers and storms coming on through. So what we're trying to dissect is any kind of rotation. Let me go over to the base velocity here. And I mean, that's not a tornado. I don't see any tornado signature on radar from this line. It's a line of some gusty winds coming on through. A very, very good view too as it approaches here. The radar from the west, some strong winds.
There's not even, you look for a notch or something like that in the line and the reflectivity. You're not even seeing that big flash of lightning on our camera pointed back toward Ozark, back up Foster Street.
And normally, when they issue a tornado warning, Tallahassee, I'm usually in high agreement with.
Well, that's why I hesitated a little bit, because obviously we have the communication with the National Weather Service offices in Tallahassee, and they mentioned that a tornado warning was coming for that area, and I hesitated on it for a minute because I thought maybe they were going to mention severe thunderstorm warning instead, because there just wasn't anything that jumped out at me. We're close to the radar site, so we're getting some good data coming in, but there can also be a point where you get close to the radar site and it kind of acts as a detriment to where the radar beam oftentimes is shooting up above the area that we're looking at, but you start to get to a point where you get close enough to the radar site to where you're so close that it can't see it as well. So usually if you don't see it in the velocity, usually the reflectivity, you'll see it in a notch or a little bit of a hook along the leading edge of the line. And David, as you mentioned, there's nothing that sticks out at me that would suggest that we have anything that's on the edge of spinning up into a tornado.
So I'm going on a different phone here, base velocity all the way up, all the different tilts in the atmosphere, trying to identify any elevated rotation within this area of Dale County. I'm not seeing any rotation at all. In lower levels, as I scan up to the 3.1 degree scan as well, so you're looking at the whole depth of the atmosphere. There's a tornado warning in effect. If you're just tuning in, we're trying to figure out what they issue that warning based off of, because I'm not seeing any signs of any significant rotation. Now, there's some gustier winds on the leading edge, so there's a look at the reflectivity. So you've got a very distinct line here where you go from no rain to heavy rainfall. We're not seeing any notches, as Zach mentioned, and normally in a situation like this, almost like a line echo wave pattern, you see these little notches that would be areas where there's some spin. For example, go back to last Thursday morning. We had several different notches, and it was very easy to see these small pockets of rotation as we go and dissect this area, right? So you see the tornado warning polygon. If we dissect this area, go to base velocity, maybe a little bit of a hint right there. We go over to storm relative velocity, maybe a little bit of a hint right there. The purple is just bad data. You kind of ignore that. So it doesn't really correspond to anything. And again, the radar beam, the lowest part of if there's a tornado, the lowest part of the radar beam is going to see it. So we're not seeing it. And again, going up, if you look at the different tilts, I'm not seeing any rotation anywhere. I
think it is important to mention, even in the area where you have that tornado warning in place, though there's not really a place that we're seeing where we may have a area of rotation that could produce a tornado. David, you mentioned it. There's some strong winds, and we talk about all the time, whether it be straight line winds or a tornado, it does damage all the same. I mean, if you can get some of those winds to get down to the surface of around 50 or 60 miles per hour, that's an E of 0 tornado. So while I don't think there's a big threat you see it, I see it as well. There's not really anything that sticks out at us on radar that would suggest that we have a tornado on the ground. But if you get some of those gusty winds in a couple of pockets to pick up to around 60 or 70 miles per hour, straight line winds, but it does damage all the same as an EF0 tornado would do.
The warning says radar indicated rotation, and I'm sorry, we're looking at the radar. We're trying to find what that was issued off of, and there's really just not much there. So we're gonna keep watching that area, of course, but it's really a line of some heavy rainfall coming on through. A very distinct change from no rain to heavy rainfall. Not seeing any significant notches with that line. Not seeing any pockets of strong rotation. That's base velocity. There's look at storm relative velocity. So again, a lot of experience here watching radar, and none of us in here are real concerned about anything that screams tornado. But we'll respect that tornado warning that's out there and keep watching that area. So if you're just tuning in here from, say, Henry County or Dale County, yes, we know there's a tornado warning in effect. We're trying hard to figure out exactly where any kind of rotation is. If I back this up a little bit too. Ryan, you're looking at it too. I mean, do you turn your mic on? Do you see anything differently than what Zach and I have seen?
No, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking very closely. I'm trying to see exactly maybe what the National Weather Service was picking up on, and maybe there was just one little tiny notch where like 2 pixels were close together. But I know I was just walking back in here from the live shot. Where I was just analyzing that storm, but nothing really stands out, especially in the scans since that warning was issued. Yeah, I am not seeing anything different, or even switching over to our velocity product, not seeing anything that would mention any kind of different development as well. So yeah, I'm not really sure what they were seeing, but I am going back on the radar on my phone to see if I see any like notable notches or anything like that. But yeah, I'd have to be in agreement.
Yeah.
Another big blanket severe thunderstorm warning.
Washington, Holmes, Walton, Jackson, Houston,
all right.
and Clay, early in Seminole.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just what Tallahassee does. They issue these big warnings, and it kind of covers them, right? If there's any damage that occurs anywhere within that warning polygon, they can say, hey, we had a warning out. But so everywhere in this polygon is not going to see severe weather. So that's really our main purpose this morning. Listen, we're not going to agree with the Weather Service all the time on the warnings that they put out, but what we're going to try to do is pinpoint within the warnings that are out there, are there actual damaging winds occurring, whether it's from a tornado or damaging straight line winds. So we've got the polygons in place, and we'll keep dissecting the atmosphere as we go through the next couple hours. I will tell you that the atmosphere continues to become more and more favorable for severe weather, so there's certainly a chance that we will see some damage reports from that polygon over the next couple hours as the storms intensify. A pretty good line setting up here from areas around Dothan southwestward, and then it extends to the north also up into parts of, say, Barber County. As we go farther westward, still some potential here, but the way it's kind of unfolding this morning, that the main risk area is kind of from, say, Eufaula more or less to areas between Panama City and Destin. So we're going to keep seeing if these try to organize any more. They might not. Certainly areas north and west here, the atmosphere is done. Temperatures are cooling, winds are shifting around to the northwest, so that severe threat is over in those areas. We do have that tornado warning in effect, and we've been working hard to try to figure out what in the world that was issued for, and we cannot see any signs of a rotation. There's the potential always with a line of storms like this for some damaging straight line winds and for some pockets of rotation to develop, but nothing that really screams tornado. There's one, I mean, maybe I'm trying to figure it out. There's maybe a little area right there.
On the Dale County, Henry County line. What county is that? County Road 40, I don't know what that is below the banner. That's it. I mean, that's it. If there's anything right there, that's it.
That's base velocity, storm relative. It's just, there's not much there. And, you know, now it's gone. That one scan that. So, yeah, that's going back a couple scans. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any immediate tornado threat in that area of the tornado polygon. So we're going to keep watching it, of course. All right, we've got this line of showers and storms coming on through. We're seeing some attenuation now with that radar kind of being covered up by the heavy rainfall. Henry County, I mean, is maybe a little notched area right there.
Yeah.
Let me just go back a couple frames. Yeah, it's real small here and just developing, but there's no reflect, I mean, there's no velocity to back it up. Zach,
I'm,
what do you got?
I'm about as I don't know. I'm about as speechless as you are. I don't know. There was never really an area of rotation there, and obviously there's a lot of bad data wherever you see all the purple that's showing up on the storm relative or the base velocity. That's bad data, typically because you're just so close to the radar site. But even in between those places, there was never really an area that showed rotation. And like I mentioned, even on the reflectivity, just the radar that you guys are normally used to looking at, where you have the greens, the yellows, the reds, the oranges that show how heavy it's raining. Usually if you can't find an area of rotation, or if it's embedded in that, you would see it in the reflectivity as like a notch or a hook or something like that, and not even seeing that as well. Real quick, have seen some mentions of a little bit of hail coming down in a few spots. That's definitely possible. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of widespread or a whole lot of big hail, but definitely in some of those stronger cores. I saw one report where we had a little bit of, what's that?
Was it Holmes?
No, it wasn't in Holmes. I'm looking at the Facebook comments. Saw a report of some hail in Cottonwood. It's possible in some of those stronger storms. You may get a little bit of small hail popping up here and there, but overall the environment not really conducive for us to get a whole lot of big hailstones. So is it possible that we could see a couple of areas of a little bit of hail? Yes. Are we going to see widespread just big hail? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got the hail tracker up.
I was about to say, yeah. I'm looking at the same thing. Maybe some pockets that are popping up, but nothing
Right
too
there.
significant.
Yeah, like a little pocket there, light gray. So if you see anything show up on this hail tracker, like a light gray, it'll indicate probably pea-size hail. So certainly a possibility of that. But if you have big hail, it would show up as blue, goes up the scale, and blue starts showing up. We're not seeing that at all. So yeah, a little bit of light, small hail out there mixed in. There's a big view of the hail tracker, big view of the reflectivity, big view of storm relative velocity, big view of base velocity. So kind of to cover what we're tracking right now. Tornado warning in effect, although we're not seeing a tornado here in Henry County, to be honest with you. Some pretty good rainfall moving on through. Heavy rainfall, Houston County southward into the Panhandle. Some scattered showers farther westward. The atmosphere much more stable here in the wake of that earlier convection, and as winds shift around to the northwest and that cold front comes on through and drops temperatures. Let's focus in on this tornado warning. This is a pretty strong line of storms coming on through Henry County right now. There are some pockets of stronger winds, a little bit of a notch here showing up, and then as we go northward here, kind of a wavy pattern up into, say, Barber County, south of Baker Hill. Let's go base velocity first here, and that's probably the strongest pocket of wind right here, the far northern part of Henry County. I'll back this up just a couple frames, and you see the area of pink developing, just one frame basically of that, the far northern part of Henry County. And then as we go southward, so if you have a tornado signature on radar, you would have greens and reds together, inbound, outbound. So what this velocity product does is it scans the sky, determines if the raindrops are moving towards or away from the radar site. Towards is green, red is away. So base velocity is just what are the winds doing in the atmosphere, straight up, what are the winds doing? And they're all outbound here, so that line of storms is coming on through, pushing winds from west to east. There's a look at, let me pop it up, base velocity. So there's the line of storms. The winds are blowing like this off to the east. Just because you have a little notch like that doesn't mean you have a tornado. There's a little surge here this is probably more indicative of some strong winds when you have a little bit of a bowing segment like we're seeing right here. And that actually does correspond to base velocity, a little core of stronger winds here. So off to the north of Lawrenceville, about to move into Barber County, northwest of Screamer. That little pocket here, winds in excess of, say, 35 or 40 miles per hour. Not necessarily damaging winds, but some stronger winds in that pocket. That does correspond with that little surge right there, that little bowing segment. So we're trying to figure out, since this warning's been issued, if there's any actual tornado potential anywhere, and we're not seeing anything. Being honest, I'm not sure why that warning was issued.
Covington dropped from the tornado watch just as a matter of formality.
Yeah, makes sense there. That
won't be long. I've already seen some communications from the National Weather Service. I believe that's in Birmingham. We're probably about 15 minutes or so away from the from Barber County being dropped from the tornado watch as well.
Yeah, once that passes on through, that's done. So, Enterprise, that dew point's to 60 degrees. Even Floralis had that front come on through. So that threat is gone in those areas, certainly.
Yeah, those temperatures are dropping right now,
Big
too.
time. Yeah. This is a big front coming on through. So, again, tornado warning in Henry County. We're not seeing anything. We're not seeing any tornadoes.
Never was anything.
Never. Yeah. Just we're trying to figure out what was the impetus behind that warning. But we are seeing some gustier winds here. If there's one area to watch, as far northern part here of Henry County, that little pocket of pink. You see that right there. Still the northern part of Henry County. Let me plot the winds here. Base velocity winds 41 might be the highest. So ground truth probably 35, 40 miles per hour for the wind gust. 58 miles per hour or greater is technically severe. But if you're in a 40 mile per hour wind gust, that feels like it's pretty severe or significant for you. So we're going to watch that little core of winds right here move up into the border area with Barber County, the far southern part there of Barber County. Heavy rainfall with that cell also. So the leading edge is probably where that wind is right now. So there it is, kind of surging there through Scottsboro, Crossroads, the far, far northeastern part of Henry County, and the southern part there of Barber County. Some decent winds in this area, Baker Hill, southward to Scottsboro, Crossroads, moving off to the east, about to cross the river here before too long. We'll zoom in here and just kind of take this southward. Lawrenceville, some heavy rainfall, quite a few lightning strikes. Same thing here, some heavy rainfall. There could be some small hail. We start seeing some of that darker red mix in. That's not too far northwest of Abbeville. As we go southward, it's a little bit of a wavy pattern here, some heavier rainfall, so that looks concerning. If we dissect the winds, though, there's really nothing there that screams tornado at all. If we go over to base velocity, you've got pockets of strong winds here. These are straight line winds, pockets of strong straight line winds corresponding to this area here and then this area here. Not rotation in nature, but some strong straight line winds. Pockets here, again, in pink, where the winds are likely over 40 miles per hour in gusts. Southward here, all the way through the area towards Caps, not seeing any signs of any rotation, all the way through areas west of Newville, all the way down to west of Headland, where, again, tornado warning has been in effect for this area. We're just not seeing any signs of a tornado at all. But there are some pockets of gusty winds here, not too far away from Abbeville, back over to the base velocity, a little pocket right here. Now, this might move into Abbeville. If I back this up a little bit, yeah, just these little tiny pockets, basically some pockets of gusty winds. Still trying, Zach, to find any rotation worries, and just not seeing anything out there.
Some small areas, like you mentioned, where we're seeing some gusty winds, but not really seeing any places where those inbound and outbound winds are coming together in a way that you would expect to see a tornado spinning up. It is, however, about to get pretty loud in Abbeville, if it hasn't already. That leading edge of that heavier rain just about ready to move into Abbeville again. You're about 5 minutes away. They have now they trimmed the tornado warning. We have not completely expired it, but a tornado warning continues for north central Henry County. It does include Abbeville. As you mentioned, there's some small areas where we're seeing some gusty winds, but still nothing that sticks out at us that would suggest that we're on the verge of having a tornado on the ground. Gusty winds, yes. Could that knock down some weak trees? Could that knock down some limbs? Could that knock out some power in some spots? Yes, absolutely, with some of those gusty winds. But for right now, just not seeing any areas that jump out at me that suggest we're right on the edge of having a tornado on the ground.
Yeah. All right, on that note, let's talk about some of these other cells, because we've got this other big severe thunderstorm warning in effect, parts of Houston County down into the Panhandle. So this whole area, basically these are some showers and some lightning strikes mixed in. Base velocity here, I'm going to animate this, and we're trying to figure out if there are any pockets of stronger winds. And there's a little pocket here not too far away from Bonifay, moved up there from Vernon area. That will move into the western, northwestern part of Jackson County. Farther southward, a couple little pockets there. Now we're kind of far away from the radar site, but some gustier pockets of wind mixed in. So let's focus in on that area around Bonifay. Let me take this and go right into right here. So two different views. This is using the radar from Eglin. Core of some stronger winds here. Looks like right along I-10. Let's match that up with the reflectivity. So in this area of some heavier rainfall, 79 and I-10 there just to the south of Bonifay. Back over to base velocity. I'm going to switch this over. If I go up just a little bit to the Fort Rucker radar, and come on. So there's a switch over. So yeah, just a little pocket there right around Bonifay. Winds probably 30, 35 miles per hour, not severe. And that's a really good view because the winds are coming in from the southwest, moving to the northeast. So the radar beam as it comes on through is basically looking right down into it, and they're parallel. And that's what you want to have for really good wind data on the Doppler radar. So not seeing any severe winds there, some gusty winds. Looking at the area around Graceville, I'm not seeing any winds in the Panhandle in that warning that would actually be 58 miles per hour or greater. You guys are analyzing it as well. Any? Do you see anything differently? This little area is gusty here into Georgia, but
yeah,
not 58.
I'm still continuing to keep my eye out for anything that could happen with that tornado warning in Henry County, and it's a lot of the same for us. It's a couple of pockets where we're seeing some just gusty winds, but still not yet anything that shows rotation. Yeah,
look at that. That looks better than anything in Henry County.
Yeah. And where that's in what?
That's right on the border.
In Early
Houston,
County?
Houston and Early County, yeah. So that's storm relative velocity here, right along 84. These are inbound, these are outbound. So that's what rotation looks like on radar. That's broad rotation. I'll back this up a few scans, and that is actually coming together a little bit more in the last couple scans here. So this is an area that is worth watching. 84 off to the west of Jakin. Now moving into southwest Georgia, that is the southern part of Early County. There is no severe thunderstorm warning. There's a severe thunderstorm warning. There's no tornado warning in effect on that cell. But that's the area that might have some potential, and it might be. Let's see. Go back here, scan.
I think another thing to mention with that is that's also a cell that's kind of out ahead of everything else, where everything else is kind of lined up and all these storms are fighting for the same energy. You've got that one cell that's out here by itself, and this is no guarantee that we'll see this spin up and produce a tornado or anything like that, but when you start to see just a little bit of that rotation trying to spin up, and it happens in one of these cells that's kind of out ahead of the rest of the line, that is usually one that you just have to watch a little bit closer as we head through the next several minutes.
All right, something else to point out here. A little uptick in the velocity here as we get a pretty good view now from the radar of northern Henry and northeastern Henry County. So there's that area of dark red. Very strong straight line winds in this batch of rainfall from Abbeville northward up there into the far southern part of Barber County. Not seeing any rotation with that, but we're seeing some very strong winds. So these are all basically winds blowing in one direction, coming in from the west, blowing eastward. So these winds here may be gusting over 50 miles per hour in pockets. So very, very strong storms coming out through the northern part of Henry County. Really some of the strongest activity that we've seen so far this morning It's raining pretty good now, areas north and west of Headland, but it gets a little more intense up here towards Abbeville and then off to the north and to the northeast. Moving off to the east, there's some waviness to this pattern here in the reflectivity, so some ins and outs, if you will, where there are some surges here, some strong straight line winds. Not seeing any signs of rotation, even though there is a tornado warning in effect, but we are seeing pockets of strong straight line winds. One here about to move into Abbeville, especially the west and northwest side of Abbeville, and then off to the north here, up towards Screamer, between Abbeville and Screamer. That whole area is seeing some very strong winds and a lot of lightning strikes too. I'll put a plot here of some of the wind speeds. So 58 miles per hour, the highest I've seen 54, 57. Ground truth is probably 50 miles per hour, maybe 55 in gusts. So that really is getting up there as far as the strongest winds that we've seen so far this morning. And what we've been looking at in the model data is some potential here for some stronger storms to form in southwest Georgia, the combination of the instability and then that low-level jet, which is intensifying a little bit in this area. So some higher potential for some stronger storms over the next hour or so here in far southwestern Georgia, far southeast Alabama. Also, the rest of the area is relatively quiet. The area around Enterprise, that is non-severe weather. The airport at Dothan has dropped to a dew point of 64 degrees in the wake of this cluster of showers that came on through. That dew point was at 60, what was it, 66, I think.
The upper 60s right before these storms really started to develop. Some of those dew points jumped up into the upper 60s, and they've since now started to drop back down into the middle and upper 50s, especially back out toward Abbeville, Ozark, Troy, Andalusia. It's down to 60. It's down to 61 in Geneva. So you've got some rain that's developing kind of on the back side of all of those stronger storms, but dew point still at 70 in Definiak Springs, 69 Chipley and Mariana, 67 in Dothan. So some better moisture is still sticking around.
Yeah, here, pop up max 2. So I just drew this.
Yeah.
This is probably pretty close to where that
I think that's pretty
is.
good.
Yeah, Crestview shifted around now. Crestview has a west-northwest wind. So Crestview is behind that boundary. You mentioned Definiak Springs. Enterprise is shifting around. But generally, if you're north of this blue line, your severe threat is over. If you are east or south of the blue line, which is kind of like a prefrontal trough, more or less, you're still fair game for some of these storms to go severe. But there's a big drop in temperature and dew point behind that boundary.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Zach?
No.
Okay.
Still just keeping an eye on it. You mentioned some of the waviness that's starting to show up in that little line segment up in the northern portions of Henry County. That's kind of where I've been watching the closest. Still not anything that jumps out at me, but that's kind of the cells that we're watching the closest right now. If there was going to be a quick spin-up tornado, it would be somewhere along that line as it moves through the northern portions of Henry County. We mentioned that when that tornado warning was first issued, that even in the velocity or in the reflectivity, there wasn't a whole lot sticking out of us, like even in the form of notches that would lead to any sort of rotation. It's starting to get a little bit more wavy, where it was a little bit more linear when that tornado warning was first issued. So that's where we're watching, but still for right now, not a whole lot going on as far as any sort of thing that's really threatening to put down a tornado.
Yeah, it's all straight line winds is what we're looking at here in Henry County, just analyzing the radar here. So there's a look at reflectivity, and then here's a look at the base velocity. So all the colors are basically in one direction. The pink's pushing away from the radar site. These winds here from Abbeville off of the northeast in excess of 50 miles per hour in pockets, enough to do some damage. We're not seeing any signs of any rotation, though, at all. So storm relative velocity, this would normally show us, if there's a tornado, it would show us that spin potential on this map view, and we're not seeing it at all. So that is some good news that tornado warning is ongoing. Again, not seeing any signs of an actual tornado. There are some little notches like this, I get it, but this is more or less driven by some strong outflow, some strong straight line winds coming on through. Now, if you get really, really strong straight line winds, that can spin up on the north side a little bit of a circulation, so there could be some pockets of damage in effect over parts of Henry County, but these are more or less damaging straight line winds. There's one little area here just to the east of Abbeville, very, very strong winds here. Now, base velocity doesn't show any inbound at all. Storm relative velocity, it just really doesn't scream tornado at all, but there are some strong corridors of winds coming on through from west to east, the northeastern part here of Henry County. Let's go back down to the south there into Georgia, where we had that little pocket of some stronger winds. That little rotation was right here, and it has moved, let's see, over towards Mayhaw, kind of bowing out here north of Mayhaw, the leading edge of this line of storms through Lucille. And I got to wonder now at this point, there's a good chance that Dothan is done with any kind of a severe threat. Yeah, I think it's really going to be from Henry County, and probably this area is done too, Columbia and Gordon, to be honest with you, towards Blakely and then Mayhaw, kind of a broken line of showers and storms extending southward into the southern part of Houston County towards Cottonwood, and then down there towards Chipley and Graceville. Did we lose a radar?
Did we? I can look right quick.
Did we lose? It looks like we lost something. It's just over the weird overlap.
Eglin's still up for me, and Fort Rucker's still up for me.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same over here too.
Why is that? You see that jump? Eglin's
behind.
Yeah. You see that? Yeah.
Somebody's lagging behind the other.
So for some reason that Eglin radar is not caught up to reality.
I see.
You see that? So we're going to kind of disregard, I guess, that Eglin radar.
Yeah. I've got 12 minutes old on my phone for Eglin.
Okay, so maybe Eglin went down 12 minutes ago. That makes sense. All right, so we're going to factor that into our coverage this morning. That's a pretty good line of storms here extending on through the northeastern part of Henry County into central Henry County. It has weakened there towards Headlands, so you're looking pretty good. And then we've got the secondary batch of some strong storms, Blakely southward towards Mayhaw. These are basically straight line wind events. I'm not seeing any rotation in these lines. There are strong winds, straight line winds coming on through Henry County. I'm not seeing any rotation with this line at all. Haven't seen it with that entire tornado warning in effect, so we keep analyzing and trying to figure out why that warning is still in effect. The tornado warning, definitely a severe thunderstorm warning, is warranted. And then this area here, approaching Mayhaw, you can kind of really tell how distinct that line is, and it corresponds to this, the leading edge of that from Cuba southward to Mayhaw. Very strong straight line winds, probably in excess of 45 to 50 miles per hour, and there are pockets that may gust over 60 miles per hour in these cells here from Henry County southward into Early and then Miller counties. Both of those areas may see pockets of winds over 50 to 60 miles per hour as these storms move off to the east. As we go southward here, looking at some general thunderstorm activity, areas south of Graceville towards Chipley, Mariana dry now overall, but some showers and some storms around. Base velocity here over the past hour, looking for signs of gusty winds. Not really seeing much. You can kind of tell by the motion. There are some pockets of some stronger winds mixed in, but not real strong overall areas southward. As we go northward, that kind of stands out, doesn't it? That bowing segment coming out through Mayhaw, Early County. So that's an area of some strong winds. That will impact, I will mention, the southeastern part of Early County, and then probably the whole northern half of Miller County, and there's a big uptick in lightning there also. Very strong winds. That's one of the strongest corridors of wind that we have in addition to what we're seeing here to the north coming on through parts of Clay County and then Henry County. Again, that ongoing tornado warning. We're not seeing any signs of rotation, but we are seeing some very strong straight line winds with that cell coming on through Henry County. So I'd be concerned about that straight line wind threat around Shorterville, points northward also, and then into Clay County in Georgia. Southward, Blakely, you're okay, but that corridor of stronger winds kind of bowing out here, showing up pretty well between Blakely and Mayhaw, and a lot of lightning strikes in that area of Georgia too. This is what it looks like on radar. It's a smaller cluster of storms, but it's really packing a punch. Southern parts of Early County southward into Mayhaw. So winds there may gust over 50 miles per hour. Looks like that Eglin radar is still out. So
yeah,
use that.
The National Weather Service in Mobile confirms that Eglin is down until further notice.
Yeah.
Mobile reached out to Tallahassee, saying they noticed it, and both Mobile and Tallahassee can confirm that Eglin is going to be down until further notice. Technicians have been alerted and they're being dispatched, but yeah.
All right, big view. So what are we looking at this morning? If you're tuning in here, it is 6:58 on this Monday morning. Showers and storms all over the place across the area. We have not seen any really significant storms so far this morning. Pockets of winds over 50 miles per hour. There's been a tornado warning in effect. We haven't seen any significant rotation with that cell in Henry County, and that severe threat is really winding down. Once this passes, you're clear. So Barber County, you're fine. Pike County, long gone with any severe threat. Covington County, you're fine. Coffee County, you're done. I'd say Dale County's done, and a good chunk there, probably all of Geneva County, honestly, done with that severe threat. That boundary is in this general area. Even the airport in Dothan is probably done because, yeah, we've gone around to a west-northwest wind now in Dothan, so that severe threat is over. Still looking at a good onshore flow in Mariana, that dew point at 69 degrees, so warm and humid ahead of that boundary. I'm going to draw that boundary, that front that's in place, because once you get through that front, your threat for any severe weather is over. So let me go here and basically draw it something probably like this, more or less.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah. Defuniak Springs technically west-southwest wind, so
yeah, there's a chance it may continue to run
there.
just kind of straight down Interstate 10. There are some stronger storms that's coming out of, I think that is that Santa Rosa. I know there's Escambia County and there's Santa Rosa County over in the Florida Panhandle. I think Escambia is the one closer to the Alabama state line, and then it's Santa Rosa, and then into Okaloosa. There have been some severe thunderstorm warnings from time to time along that back edge of storms. So I still think for places like Crestview and Defuniak Springs and areas in and around that, so Ponce de Leon and areas like that, you may still have a little bit of a lingering severe weather threat. But as you start to get, especially back up around the Alabama state line and then over into Covington, over into Geneva, I think that severe weather threat's a little bit lower. So like where you had that boundary through our Alabama counties, and then I think it probably runs basically right along that Interstate 10 corridor back through Defuniak Springs and then back through Crestview and any locations south of that.
Crestview, though, has a north-northwest wind.
So
66 over 63, they're done.
Yeah, Crestview would be done.
Yeah, it's all overrunning, basically. It's a lot of rain showing up there north of Crestview, but that's up over the cool front into that cooler air. So no surface-based convection happening there. Let's see, Fort Walton Beach over towards Destin. Destin still southwest winds 72 over 68, so still fair game there. Defuniak Springs west-southwest winds. So there's the boundary. It's pretty much right through there.
I think that's drawn pretty well.
Yeah, northwest winds. So if you are east of this boundary, then you're still fair game for some thunderstorm activity that could be robust. If you are north or west of this cold front, you're done. That severe threat is done. Some rain will linger, but you're not going to get any significant severe weather when your temperature is in the lower 60s and dew points are in the lower 60s. But still some active weather here in Jackson County around Mariana. That dew point in Mariana is still 70 degrees. Chipley is at 69 over 67, so still a fair amount of moisture and warmth there in Chipley. Stronger storms here, just a hodgepodge of warnings all over the place. This is one area that is actually potentially severe. Early County into Miller County, a small cluster of storms kind of bowing out. Winds may be in excess of 50 miles per hour as we go northward here. Watching this boundary moving towards Fort Gaines. Now extending into the central part there of Henry County. That warning is gone, thankfully. Looking at some stronger storms here, some very gusty winds, gusty straight line winds, just basically along and ahead of this cold front. So base velocity here, the core of stronger winds are north of Shorterville, just north of Fort Gaines. These winds in excess of 45 to 50 miles per hour. Pockets of significant lightning showing up. We look at the hail tracker, there's probably some small hail mixed into that line of storms. So the actual line is right here. So where you see the darker reds is where we're seeing some of the hail that is in Henry County.
Surprised to see a little bit of hail coming down in that far, far southeast corner of Houston County, south of Highway 84, south of Gordon. Would not be surprised if it was maybe a little bit there just to the north of Crosby.
Yeah, there was one little scan there. Let's go back. Nothing showing up on the hail tracker. Yeah, there was. Go back a scan right there. Yeah, that one scan, and now that's gone away. So some heavy rainfall. Your severe threat is over in Dothan, though. I mean, we're good to go in Dothan. No more severe weather threat at all.
Some rain could continue. Some lightning, some thunder.
Yeah.
If you can get enough lingering instability, you may get some really, really small hail. I mean, I'm talking about the little sonic ice size hail. I mean, that small hail. Possible, not likely, but I think for many of us back toward Dothan and places like that, yes, we could still see some rain throughout the morning, but I think the severe weather threat pretty low or just about zero for now for places like Dothan. This severe weather threat now moving east of us toward the Alabama and the Georgia state line and into the central portions of the Florida Panhandle as well.
It's been I think best case scenario this morning.
It really has.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thinking coming into this morning, that you had the potential to see some significant weather if we got those supercells to form out ahead of that main line. And the instability lacking has been, I think, the issue. Just not enough warmth, not enough moisture to produce really robust storms.
Right.
And a ton of lightning. So that's good. I'm not complaining at all, because no one likes severe weather. Most people don't like severe weather. But hey, it's winding down here and exiting a good chunk of the area. We will continue with our live coverage here probably for another, I don't know, maybe till 8 o'clock, the way it looks now, I would say, in that ballpark, as we keep tracking a few more showers and storms. We do have, again, a lot of warnings in effect out there, but every part of every warning is not the same, because some areas like here, we'll see some significant weather within these warnings, but some areas will completely miss out. And some areas won't get much rainfall when it's all said and done, but some of you are getting some heavy rainfall and some gusty winds. The southern part there of Houston County, southward into Jackson County, and then into Washington County, one of those areas that is still likely to see some stronger storms. I got to get rid of this because that radar is down. I got to go over here. Turn off Eglin. I'm going to save that as a new element. Okay, so there's Eglin's gone. That Eglin radar is not updating anymore. So kind of a messy looking radar picture this morning, because we've got a lot of showers and thunderstorms out there, but no really, really strong storms that are legit 60, 70 mile per hour winds, no pockets of rotation. It's just kind of showers and storms coming in with pockets of some gusty winds here and there. We've had that one tornado warning in effect, which we were trying to figure out.
Never really had anything to it that we could see.
Yeah, didn't see anything with that. There are strong winds here, though, still ongoing north of Shorterville, with that cell extending into Clay County in Georgia. There's a look at the reflectivity, and there's some heavy rainfall with that cluster. A lot of lightning, too, and likely some small hail now crossing from Alabama into Georgia. South of Shorterville, there's a pretty good gust of wind probably coming on through. Base velocity, decent winds right there. Looking for any signs of any rotation. Let me just back this up a little bit. I mean, you could probably argue there's a little hint now developing. What? I mean, right there.
Yeah.
Right there. That's really that's a stretch. Yeah, just some heavy rainfall, some gusty winds there south of Shorterville. Otherwise, Henry County is pretty quiet. Again, we're done with any severe threat in Houston County. Except for the far southeastern part of the county, the far southern part of the county. Dothan certainly done with any severe threat. And then southward towards Jackson County, I got Red Bay up again. What happened there? I thought I got rid of it. Not sure. Let's go back up there. Ryan, what are you seeing on your end? You're looking at power outages, probably not much more to report there.
I was about to say, I was definitely going to really check out power outages once we kind of summed up our coverage here, because I'm sure those have increased for some areas, but I mean, really, when I was outside of the studio earlier, really getting a sense of the strength of those winds, it wasn't too much. I think the biggest thing has been a lot of the lightning that we've seen with these storms, but biggest thing I've been watching out for is, while we're kind of watching out for those gusty winds for the storms heading out of Henry County into Georgia. I've just been taking a look at some of these other storms, kind of more focused into Jackson County, but not seeing anything in terms of significant winds or storm relative velocity, any kind of rotation with those storms. I know one of our radar sites is down now, but yeah, still not seeing much. I think the biggest thing is right along what you guys said, like some of the energy that we did have kind of wash in for tonight's severe weather threat just wasn't something too significant, and I think we're kind of seeing that play out with these storms. And the biggest thing is just going to be watching out for how those temperatures and the dew points are behaving. Biggest thing I've been seeing for Facebook, a lot of people saying or asking, areas farther to the west, Elba, people still asking about Geneva, Sampson, including Dothan. As you kind of feel those temperatures start to go down, that means the dew points are going down as well. The energy needed for strong storms is depleting. So if you feel, or if you go outside and you feel those temperatures getting much, much cooler now, you are out of that severe weather threat. And we are continuing to say for areas like Dothan, Houston County, Dale County, Coffee County, Geneva, you're out of that severe weather threat because that cold front is passing through. So just wanted to emphasize that here. But yeah, David and Zach still watching out for those cells farther off to the south and parts of Florida. I think the biggest thing is just to be watching out for some of those gusty winds making their way into parts of Georgia or our Georgia counties as of right now. But I know a lot of people are starting to get ready for work, and really much of our Alabama counties are looking good. You just might want to be aware of some of those county roads with trees around. Maybe there could be some limbs here and there, but maybe on your side too. Zach, have you seen anything in terms of storm reports come in or anything like that?
Haven't seen a whole lot of storm reports. By the way, it's a nice shelf cloud that's moving over Dothan right now. We can see that in our view coming back up Foster Street.
Oh yeah.
You can see that back behind Ryan. Heads up Fort Gaines. Starting to see some of those velocities come up a bit. Not really looking at this too terribly much as far as a tornado threat, but you can see how those greens got a little bit brighter right over Fort Gaines. See where some of those reds have gotten a little bit brighter as well. Likely some gusty winds. Again, not really anything that jumps out at me as far as a tornado threat goes, but anybody that's over there in the northern portions of, or the central portions of Clay County, right around Fort Gaines, would not be surprised to see a pretty big increase in those winds. And then as far as like ground truth, we've been tracking a lot of these winds aloft on velocity, and I've gotten, as far as storm reports go, just some mesonet stations, mostly out across the Florida Panhandle. They've been picking up wind gusts between around 40 to 45 miles per hour, and I feel like that's kind of been the general idea of what we've seen around the region throughout the morning.
Yeah, gusty winds here and there, but not widespread damaging winds. So there's a look at that storm there by Fort Gaines. This little pocket right here may see winds over 50 miles per hour moving on through Clay County. Shorterville, some pretty good rainfall coming on through. They they had a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, and then they just plotted another one on top of the old one. So it gets really, really messy when you look at this map. But this is basically the area that has some severe potential that's moving off to the east, northeast. So that's kind of the zone there that will be passing out of our area. One area that is worth watching. And then the other area here is basically from Damascus southward through Early County and moving off towards, say, Milford, out of our area to just a little area. So, if, a little warning polygon should probably be like right in this area, right in through there. Because if you're outside of that cell, north or south, you're fine. For example, in Colquitt, no worries at all. Southward here, there are warnings in effect for this whole area, but we're not seeing any severe weather from these storms. Some showers, some storms out there, some gustier winds mixed in, but the base velocity not real impressive in any of those areas. Now, there may be some pulses here and there where those winds go over 40 miles per hour, so it's worth watching. And this is an area that is still unstable. We've got temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s and dew points in that same ballpark, more or less. So still in the zone here for some severe weather potential. And we'll keep watching Jackson County for about the next hour or so. Some of these cells moving in from the southwest may pulse, may produce some heavy rainfall, may produce intense lightning at times, and some gusty winds. We are not seeing any signs of rotation. This is a look at the storm relative velocity. No signs anywhere of rotation within all that rain which is occurring. And that is some great news because there's been that threat for tornadoes all morning long, and it has not materialized in our area. Certainly some great news all across the Wiregrass. Again, big severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. Areas that will not get any rainfall have these warnings. It's kind of a sloppy looking map, to be honest with you, but we're watching these cells here. There's some severe potential far southern part here of Houston County into Jackson County. This area here, these cells may strengthen a bit as they move off to the north and northeast because the environment is still favorable for strengthening, a warm, humid atmosphere in place, some wind shear up above. So we'll keep watching this area. Dothan, you're done with that severe threat. Some lingering showers and some rumbles of thunder out there, but the severe threat is over. That temperature, the dew point has come down quite a bit now in the city of Dothan. What is it, 66 over 64 at the airport. We had dew points earlier a little bit higher than that, and temperatures were in the lower 70s. Outside of that, that one cell moving out of Early County, the one that we're watching right here, so about to move off to the east of Damascus and east of Arlington. There are some gusty winds in that pocket. I'll switch over to the base velocity real quick. Some of the gustier winds showing up there east of Damascus with that cell, the eastern part of Early County. And then northward into Henry County, pretty much done with the rain. Some lingering rainfall around Shorterville. A look at the base velocity, some of those stronger winds now off to the east-northeast of, say, Fort Gaines, approaching Coleman, out of our area. No other worries here. I don't know why, I don't know what the deal is with this overlapping warning setup here, but if I could clean that up for you, I would. I can't individually cancel a warning from the system, but basically, this is the area that we're watching here from Shorterville northward into Georgia and then off to the east. So, okay, there's that one warning going away. So that's the other warning that was issued, and that will be off to the east of us. So outside of that, pretty quiet in Henry County. What we're seeing here in Dale County is not severe. It's some rainfall coming on through. Southward into Houston County, we don't have that Eglin radar, but we've got the Fort Rucker radar, and we've got the Tallahassee radar pretty much showing the same thing. Let's see, any wind threat at all? You guys seeing anything that might be concerning?
A couple of patches. It's mostly over in the northern portions of Clay County, just to the east of Fort Gaines, right along that leading edge of the line. There's a look at the severe alerts. I did also want to mention Okaloosa County has been dropped from the tornado watch. And the National Weather Service in Mobile has mentioned that the front will be moving through Okaloosa County in about the next 30 minutes. So Barber County, not too terribly long ago, got dropped from that tornado watch. And I think it won't be too terribly long before we start to see places like Walton, Holmes, Geneva, Coffee, Dale, and then eventually over into Henry and Houston counties, we start to see these areas get trimmed away from that tornado watch. The area I still continue to keep my eye on the closest is just some of these pockets of some gusty winds that are showing up. Now just to the east of Fort Gaines, again, not really watching this as far as any sort of threat for a tornado goes, but you can see where some of those brighter greens are showing up in between Fort Gaines and Zeto, south of Pecan. That's just some of the areas where we're watching for some of those gusty winds. Looks like there may be some in between Shorterville and Haleburg as well, but just like what we've seen throughout much of the morning, another couple of areas out across the southern portions of Houston County, just some areas where we're seeing some gusty winds, but as we've seen throughout the morning, no areas that are really all that threatening for any sort of even a brief spin-up tornado.
Keep going, Zach, because I lost control of my mouse.
Okay, yeah. Start dropping down into the Eglin coverage area, but yeah, just a couple pockets of gusty wind, still some lightning, still some thunder, moving through portions of Jackson County. You can still see where some of those storms are lined up, and this is kind of where our severe weather threat is limited to, basically from Chipley, Graceville, eastward over into Marietta, eventually over to Steam Mill. Donaldsonville, you've been pretty quiet throughout the morning. You'll start to see some of the rain, some of the thunder, some of the lightning, some of the gusty winds moving into your area over the next little bit. And then anywhere along a line from Marietta eastward over toward Chattahoochee and Lake Seminole. Those would be some more of those other locations where we could still see a low end, but still lingering severe weather threat out across portions of Jackson and in Seminole County. Back toward Dothan, you may see another increase in some of that rain coming up over the next little bit. You can see where some of that rain is now moving through kind of the panhandle. I don't know if that's an official term there for Houston County, but some heavier rain back toward Hartford as well, up toward Midland City. But currently, all that's just rain, and our severe weather threat now starting to get limited mostly to the far southeastern portions of Houston County, Jackson County, Seminole County, and over into Early and Clay County as well.
All right, let's dissect what is happening across our area and beyond this morning. If you're just tuning in, a new tornado watch in effect now for areas east of us through a good chunk of Georgia into the Big Bend of Florida, up there into South Carolina. This system will be ongoing all day, moving up through the mid-Atlantic. Some big storms are possible up there. We are on the backside of this system, so the showers and storms will be winding down here over the next couple hours. We get the cooler air to come in, still some lingering rain in that more stable air, and even some elevated lightning strikes. So even though there's no severe weather threat right now in, say, Covington County, still some lightning out there. So you will hear some thunder in the wake of the severe weather threat. We have that warmer air up over that boundary.
And that thunder is usually pretty loud.
It does, yeah,
on
sometimes.
the backside of that. On the backside of those storms, you usually get some pretty loud thunder.
Yeah,
so it's loud. It's probably windy, rain coming down pretty heavily. But yes, severe weather threat. You're at zero at that point.
All right, let's go bigger view here because this is interesting, right? Some
Look at
snow
that.
may be breaking out there in central parts of Mississippi at this hour. It's a very, very dynamic system. Cold air spilling southward, and that's going to be the big change that we see over the next, not even 24 hours, over the next 12 hours. Temperatures tumbling. We're seeing it right now. 53 in Troy, 56 degrees in Andalusia with thunder in the vicinity, so no severe weather there. It is just a cool rain falling at this hour. 70 still Defuniak Springs, 72 Mariana, 68 now in Blakely, 66 in Dothan. That cooler air is coming in from the northwest, and behind that cool air is some really, really cold air. 37 now in Jackson, 35 Memphis, 23 St. Louis, 11 now in Kansas City. That's the colder air that comes in. It's incredible. Temperatures tonight will be in the upper 20s to lower 30s in the Wiregrass. Same thing tomorrow night. So we shift gears here back to some real winter-like air. Dew points are dropping. Once you get that dew point to fall into the middle to lower 60s, forget about any severe threats. So most of the area, just looking at this map, is getting out of any severe threats. Still 70 in Defuniak Springs, 69 Mariana, but outside of that area, northward, we got that cooler and drier air coming in right now. Still a few showers and storms, again, even north of that boundary in that cooler air around Covington County. The heavier showers and storms, southeastern parts of Houston County into, say, the southern part of Early County, into Seminole County, Miller County, Jackson County. That's kind of the only area left that may see some strong storms to severe storms yet this morning, but that threat is diminishing. We're looking at the base velocity here and not seeing any really significant winds with any of these storms. So the severe threat, which really never got going in full gear today, is winding down. We'll keep watching these cells as they move on through Houston County and Jackson County, but as we look at the base velocity here, we're not seeing any indications of any damaging straight line winds. And we have a pretty good view here because the winds are coming in from the southwest, moving to the northeast. We get the radar beam coming in from the northeast, looking down to the southwest, and we're not seeing any damaging winds or strong winds, even elevated in this area. So that big warning that's in effect probably could be cut and it'd be just fine. I'm not seeing any severe winds in this area, but there are some decent downpours, say around areas north and west of Chipley towards Caryville, Bonifay, and then north and northeast of Mariana, south and southwest of Mariana. Some pretty good rainfall towards Steam Mill at this hour, and then over into Miller County, but again, not seeing any signs of any damaging winds. As we go northward here, that wind is now out of Barber County, out of Henry County, pretty much out of Clay County, that storm moving away. Out of Early County, so we're really down now to just a small area here of activity around Miller County into Seminole and then Jackson counties. I think we will wrap up our coverage at 7:30 this morning, the live coverage. We'll stick with us for 8 more minutes here, 7 more minutes as we track the showers and storms coming on through, and then cut back in if we see anything significant that pops up in, say, Jackson County or Seminole County. But I'm not seeing that threat being real high right now, real strong. What do you guys think?
Cancellations of the tornado watch. This is from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. The tornado watch will be canceled soon for Coffee, Dale, and Geneva. That's a formality at this point. We've already gotten that cooler air that's starting to move into the area. We will just get those counties formally dropped from that tornado watch coming up within the next handful of minutes.
Yeah. Winding down. So it's been a best case scenario, I would say, this morning. The showers and storms still scattered in the wake of that cold front. So still some rainfall in Dale County, in Henry County, scattered up there into Pike County, areas west there of Geneva County, Covington County, some rainfall, some scattered showers and storms in the Panhandle. But the focus for additional severe weather will be farther eastward and southeastward as we go through the rest of the morning hours. And as I showed you earlier, the big view, a lot of that focus will be shifting to the eastern seaboard up through the mid-Atlantic as we go through the rest of today. Let me take you back all the way up here to the big view of the satellite radar, and we're going to go back over the last, say, 12 hours. I'll back this all the way up here. When those storms were coming on through parts of Mississippi, I thought we would see a few more tornado reports up here than we ended up seeing. Thankfully, we did not see a significant outbreak of severe weather as far as tornadoes go. Overnight, anywhere northwest of us, a lot of wind here, especially across the northern part of Alabama. When this was a solid line of storms, that line, as expected, was breaking apart as it was approaching our area, and we started getting these individual cells to pop up this morning. Those individual cells were producing some gusty winds, but they never tapped into the full wind shear potential in the atmosphere, the spin potential, which is probably due to the fact that the energy levels were just a little bit too low. The Cape values, we call it, in the atmosphere, probably a little bit too low for widespread, really deep convection that would have tapped into that wind shear to produce tornadoes. So what we've seen are pockets of gusty winds, a couple of pockets of very weak rotation out there, but no significant rotation in the Wiregrass during the morning hours. And what we're seeing is basically winding down at this hour as we get that cooler air to work in from the west and northwest, and that cooler air will be the big story over the next couple days. So ongoing showers here. If I draw my line of where the additional severe threat will be, I'm going to take this cold front and let me see, pop this up here. Okay, come on. Let's see. So we're going to go basically from about right here, almost something like that, basically. If you're north of this line, you're fine. If you're east or southeast of that line, still some threat for severe weather. But it's almost wonkier than that. It's almost kind of like this, honestly, because some of these areas in Early County have pretty much seen that boundary come on through, and the atmosphere is much more stable than it was earlier. Ryan is standing by. Ryan, one more wrap with you to see a look at those power outages across the area.
Yeah, guys, and I'll make this quick because there's really not much to go through in terms of the power outages. You can see that through the southeastern counties in Alabama. Haven't really been seeing much more of those colors brightening. Really, the most of those power outages that we saw earlier were through parts of Crenshaw County, but now that those are diving downward, so likely crews are out there working, especially after those major storms pass through. We saw that those power outages are going down. So areas that have been seeing those power outages are continuing to see those crews on the way working on it. The most significant has really been looking at the Wiregrass Electric Cooperative outage map. So Wiregrass Electric Cooperative customers, especially in parts of Houston County, we're seeing all these power outages here affecting some customers, but all these icons mean that crews are currently reporting to these areas trying to get that power back on. But the biggest thing noticeable was throughout the morning, this is really where we saw a good collection of not necessarily a really big activity in terms of gusty winds, just a lot of lightning. And, you know, again, those lightning strikes can really impact transformers, make them blow, and allow for more widespread power outages for some of those areas. But a lot of crews are starting to work on getting that power back up. When looking at customers for Alabama Power, not seeing too much of those outages right there. Maybe a few in Enterprise. Earlier, there were less than 5 through parts of Geneva into Houston County, and even the number that I saw for parts of Eufaula now starting to decrease as well. Checking out Dothan Utilities right within the circle. not seeing much in terms of web outages as well. So that's the good news. We saw a lot more power outages with the system that made its way through for early Thursday. But I think that's just a testament to, like David was saying, how much these storms were not really able to tap into the energy to lift up into that bigger area of shear to allow for really strong gusty winds, more widespread storms with gusty winds. And so that's a really good scenario for us. Not too much in terms of the power outage impacts for this event, David.
Thank you, Ryan, for that. We are about to wrap up our coverage here at 7:30. Toss you over to regular programming. Real quick wrap here. A few more showers and thunderstorms are ongoing. We're watching them over parts of Holmes County into Jackson County, up into the southern part of Houston County. Still some threat here for some stronger winds to develop as we go through the next hour or so. Quick look here at base velocity. There are some pockets here and there where the winds may be gusting over, say, 30 to 40 miles per hour. A little uptick in lightning strikes right here. That is north, say, of Bonifay. A look at the reflectivity. It's this cell right here. I'll go back over to storm relative velocity, and we're going to watch just in case there's some pockets of rotation that develop anywhere in the Wiregrass. If that is the case, we will be back on here and giving you an update. But as of right now, we're looking at the showers and storms coming on through with pockets of some gusty winds. And most of this will be gone through most of the area in the next hour or so. And then we focus on that cooler air coming into the Wiregrass that will drive low temperatures down to around freezing as we go through tonight and tomorrow night. Thank you for spending part of your morning with us, getting us through this wet and stormy Monday morning in the Wiregrass. Better weather ahead, although it will be colder. We'll have more updates as needed right here on WTVY News 4.
You've been watching a News 4 First Alert Severe Weather Update. For more weather updates, download the free WTVY First Alert Weather app.